Chapter 206. Over the next 2 days, Kevin Lin was still unable to apply for a flying transport from the base, but he was unwilling to lower himself to ask Fan Lin for help. Besides, there was a lot of freedom at the outpost. There was food and water, and the feeling of being provided for by the outpost team was pretty good. Although Kevin Lin still grumbled to Fang Zhao, his desire to stay at the outpost was even stronger. The reason he kept applying for flying transport was because he wanted to return to base to pack his luggage. Fang Zhao's position had already been transferred to the outpost. His daily work was recorded on a file, and the person in charge of grading Fang Zhao's daily military service was Fan Lin. Digging, fertilizing, watering, setting up the protective netting, and other tasks were done by Fang Zhao and 2 other researchers. Fan Lin would also personally work in the fields. Although there were 3 or 4 people working on the experimental plot, Fang Zhao shouldered almost 3/4 of the workload by himself. And in his free time outside of military service, Fang Zhao was practically hugging his notebook and composing. The people at the outpost were no longer curious about this scene. That kid is really practical. He works without any pretense, a member of the outpost team said to Yen Biao. In the past, they had been a little prejudiced against celebrities. They had always felt that celebrities were just putting on a show and that everything else was fake. But over the past 2 days, their views had changed a lot. Even Kevin Lin is more of a celebrity than him. Even without going online, the outpost team knew that Kevin Lin appeared on live broadcasts much more often than Fang Zhao. Actually, Kevin Lin was also troubled. Project Starlight, to put it bluntly, was to borrow the popularity of celebrities to help the poor. But now that Planet Baiji no longer needed to help the poor, there was no longer a need to borrow Fang Zhao's popularity. This way, Fang Zhao's presence was dispensable. Planet Baiji did not lack explosive news, investors, or business partners. Now, it was up to Baiji Base to pick on others. Every day, the latest developments in power or research would attract mainstream media and the attention of investors. Kevin Lin had received a message from his chief editor. Now, his mission had changed. All he needed to do was report some fresh news, something that could attract people. As for whether or not Fang Zhao would appear in the live broadcast and for how long, it no longer mattered. After all, Fang Zhao was still undergoing his military service. He did not have as much freedom as the other 4 celebrities. After weighing the pros and cons, the news agency hoped that Kevin Lin could find some explosive news to broadcast instead of constantly reporting on Fang Zhao's military service. What was there to watch about military service? Isn't it the same boring work every day? However, Kevin Lin was too embarrassed to tell Fang Zhao all this. The reason Channel S5 was able to garner so much attention, be it from the or anything else, was all thanks to Fang Zhao. So even if the higher-ups wanted him to shift the focus, he would still mention Fang Zhao during the live broadcast. If it had been anyone else, the moment Kevin Lin mentioned it, they would have seized the opportunity to show their faces. However, Kevin Lin realized that Fang Zhao really didn't care about this. Or rather, the position Fang Zhao gave himself was different from other celebrities. Besides, Fang Zhao was going to do his military service. What was written on his military service file was still in the hands of Fan Lin. This bunch of researchers could be infuriatingly stubborn. It was impossible for them to help falsify information. Fang Zhao's daily military service assignment still had to be done. Therefore, Kevin Lin began to think about what to change during the live broadcast. After being in the experimental plot for 3 consecutive days, the audience had probably lost their curiosity. Kevin Lin glanced at Fang Zhao, who was working in the experimental plot, and turned to walk to the side. "Captain Yen, when are you guys going hunting?" Yen Biao's vigilance was immediately raised, but he still maintained a friendly expression on his face. "There's a limit to the number of times we can hunt every month, and we don't dare to break the rules. You want to do a live broadcast of hunting?" In the past, when there had been no outsiders at the outpost, because of the harsh living conditions, Yen Biao would secretly lead the team on a few more hunts to improve their living standards. Every outpost was the same, and they were not special cases. However, they did not dare let the reporters and researchers know about this. He was afraid that this bunch of people would blow things up. Even if the higher-ups wanted to turn a blind eye, they would not be able to. Kevin Lin was not stupid. It would be weird if he believed what Yen Biao said, but he did not expose him. Instead, he discussed, "I just asked Professor Fan Lin. There's nothing going on at the experimental plot in the afternoon. The weather is pretty good. It's not hot and there's no rain. Why don't we go out for a walk? Even if we don't hunt, I'll film something else. You guys have been stationed here for a long time, so you know the surroundings better. Do you know anything special?" "There are quite a few, but it's rather dangerous. If you guys go out alone, it's easy for something to happen. If you really want to go out, I'll personally lead the team to protect you guys. I'll definitely guarantee your safety. Yen Biao spoke with awe-inspiring righteousness, but in fact, his hands were itching to go out and hunt. At the same time, he wanted to freeload on the live broadcast and let the rest of the team get more exposure. Then we'll have to trouble Captain Yen. After the discussion, Kevin Lin went to give Fang Zhao a heads up. Fang Zhao also wanted to go to the forest outside the outpost to take a look. This was his first time living on a planet other than Earth, so he wanted to see more of this planet's special features. Yen Biao came over with an old-fashioned hunting rifle and asked Kevin Lin, "Do you guys hunt?" Yes. Kevin Lin also wanted to try out what it was like to hunt here. The management on Earth was too strict. There was simply no such place. If he wanted to hunt freely, he would have to do it on this type of undeveloped foreign planet. Fang Zhao, when the time comes, do you want to give it a try? Kevin Lin asked. Sure. Fang Zhao nodded. In the afternoon, the group set off from the outpost. Yen Biao brought a dozen or so people with him to protect Kevin Lin and Fang Zhao. After leaving the outpost, without the protective netting, there was a primitive and dangerous atmosphere around them. The scent of plants in the air carried a hint of the warm smell of blood. There are large carnivores eating over there. Let's go around them, Yen Biao explained in a low voice. As if in response to Yen Biao's words, a bestial roar rang out 200 meters away. Kevin Lin felt all the hairs on his body stand up. He had lived in the city for too long. This was his first time entering such a primitive forest. Only now did he realize that he had greatly underestimated the danger level of this place. His whole body was stiff and he did not dare move, as if he would be eaten if he moved. It's fine. It's just scaring those carrion-eating birds. It won't attack us. Yen Biao pointed at the figures flying in the air. Let's continue forward. Still going forward? Isn't it too far? Kevin Lin's teeth were chattering. It's not far. We usually don't hunt in such close proximity, Yen Biao said calmly. In his heart, he was sneering. See, scared? This bunch of people are just timid. Even if those ferocious beasts come, there's no need to be afraid. We have guns in our hands, Yen Biao explained. The guns the outpost team was equipped with were different from the hunting rifles issued by the base. The guns they carried with them were more lethal, just in case something unexpected happened. To be considerate of Kevin Lin and Fang Zhao, who were entering the forest for the first time, Yen Biao did not bring them too far. After finding a spot, he told Kevin Lin, "This area is considered safe. There are no major threats. We can start the live broadcast." Is there a signal from so far away? Kevin Lin mumbled. When Yen Biao heard this, he looked at Kevin Lin as if he was looking at a retard. The outpost's existence was to build a global defense network. The communications network was also an important part of it. Other than a few areas where the signal was affected by special terrain or the quality of the soil, the rest of the area was covered by the massive communications network. As a specially assigned reporter, Kevin Lin's question sounded like a layman. Furthermore, Yen Biao and the others would not easily go to places with unstable signals. Otherwise, if they died accidentally, no one would be able to collect their corpses. Bravery was not the same as courting death. Kevin Lin calmed down and realized his mistake. He coughed awkwardly. His body was still stiff from nervousness, so he handed the hunting rifle to Fang Zhao. "Why don't you go first?" "Sure." Fang Zhao took the hunting rifle. This was a vintage new era hunting rifle. It was very similar to the hunting rifles Fang Zhao was familiar with. It did not feel unfamiliar. "Do you want to start the live broadcast?" Kevin Lin asked. "Sure." Kevin Lin was still worried. "Do you want to prepare first?" "No need." It was not that Fang Zhao was overconfident. He just saw that Yen Biao, who was beside him, had a belly full of things to say and was waiting to give his guidance during the live broadcast. If Fang Zhao had prepared in advance and given his guidance, Yen Biao would not have many chances to speak during the live broadcast. Of course, Fang Zhao was also confident that even if he missed the first few shots, he would definitely be able to master it after a few more tries. There was nothing to be ashamed of. Kevin Lin turned on the live broadcast mode and gave a brief introduction of the surrounding situation. "Then I'm really going to start." Yen Biao explained from the side and also gave instructions on how to use this kind of old-fashioned hunting rifle, how to aim, and how to seize the opportunity. "I can't show my face, but I can't show my voice?" Thus, Yen Biao had a good time. His family should be able to recognize his voice, right? He had not been home for many years. He did not know if his family could recognize him. In any case, he had at least shown his face once during the live broadcast. At this time, the online viewers were also interested. "Wow, is this the legendary primeval forest on a foreign planet? I heard there's a lot of wild game." How envious. Who's the person teaching hunting in the live broadcast? Why isn't his face shown? The camera swung over there a few times just now and didn't catch his face. But he's definitely a sentry. Isn't that obvious? If he's not a sentry, could he be a lab technician? Is Fang Zhao going to broadcast hunting? Can he hit it? Many people had guessed that Fang Zhao had a gangster background due to the previous leaderboards and Blackstreet incidents. All sorts of stories were made up as if they had seen it with their own eyes. Now, they could finally see Fang Zhao hunting with a real gun. This time, many gamers who were not interested in the live broadcast came over to S5 to watch. After all, a game was a game. No matter how well you acted in-game, no matter how long you practiced at the shooting range, it could not compare to a real battle. Hunting was also a real battle. Thus, online viewers craned their necks to watch. Many people who considered themselves professionals had their eyes on the screen as if they were analyzing machines. Fang Zhao's every movement, every detail, was included in their analysis. The way he held the hunting rifle was the same, but how good was his marksmanship? Was it accurate? How did it compare to in-game? Silver Wing Tower 50th floor, Virtual Projects Department. Wow! Boss is going to broadcast using a real gun. Zhu Wen hurriedly relayed the news to the others in the department. This is for real. I'm so nervous. What's so nervous about hunting? There are privately built hunting grounds in Muzhou. I heard that many professional shooters have gone there to hunt. No, you don't understand the entertainment industry. Some people have very sharp tongues. Boss is too good in-game. If he's any worse in real life, they can flay you to death. Plus, the Baijiu incident has already put Boss in the limelight. Now that they have a chance, what do you think they will do? Of course they will catch him and flay him. But Fang Zhao doesn't seem like someone who would do something he is not confident about, Jinro said. That's true. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't have agreed to broadcast hunting so readily. Looking at it from another angle, perhaps this was a chance for Fang Zhao to show off his marksmanship? Zhu Wen and the others relaxed a little and started to look forward to it. I've never seen Boss use a real gun in real life. Me too. Zhuoyu, have you? It's illegal for people without a permit to use firearms in public places other than shooting ranges, Zhuoyu replied. Even if he had seen it, he wouldn't have said it. If he said he didn't, wouldn't he be telling others that Fang Zhao was breaking the law? In the live broadcast, Fang Zhao held the old-fashioned hunting rifle. Under Yen Biao's guidance, he took aim at a fat bird that had just flown up a tree. Yen Biao was worried that Fang Zhao would lose his cool and be too impatient, so he reminded him in a low voice, wait a little longer. Be patient. Calm down. But when he turned his head, Fang Zhao was astonishingly calm. It didn't look like a youngster his age would be holding a hunting rifle for the first time. Shouldn't a normal person be a little anxious and nervous? Suppressing his doubts, Yen Biao felt that the time was right. He reminded Fang Zhao in a low voice, do it. The online audience didn't dare blink, afraid to miss this exciting scene. The next moment, the screen went black. A line appeared, signal lost. Reconnecting. Chapter 207. Channel S5's comment section exploded. With such high expectations, many people had stopped what they were doing to wait for this shot. Spectators, gamers, pundits, entertainment media, and so on. All these people had been waiting for so many reasons. Yet at the most crucial moment, all they got was a signal lost, connection in progress? At the moment the screen went black, many people erupted in curses that they had not spoken for a long time. Others were a little slower to react and stood there in a daze. Soon after, like everyone else, they rushed to the comment section to vent their dissatisfaction. Fuck. I thought the connection was disconnected because I hadn't paid my bill. I switched to other channels and found that everything was normal except for channel S5. Same here. Only channel S5 has no signal. The other channels are normal. Looks like channel S5's live broadcast signal was disconnected. It's not a problem with our network. Wasn't there a report yesterday that Planet Baiji's communication network had been upgraded? How could something like this happen? In channel S5's comment section, large chunks of unrefined text messages were harmonized into beep. Clicking on any voice message, one could hear the harmonized beep. Meanwhile, the Project Starlight program team of channel S5's Frontline First was also badly battered. Customer service was completely overwhelmed. Complaint calls were coming in one after another. We request that channel S5's live broadcast signal be restored immediately. 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 Don't cry poverty to me. Don't say that we don't have the funds to upgrade our communication equipment. Did you dig Baiji ore for nothing? Did you guys eat the ore? Let me tell you, this is corruption. Corruption. Return all the money that should have been used to upgrade our communication equipment. A customer service employee listened to the complaints and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He thought to himself, even if you sue us, it's no use. It's not like we are in charge of Planet Baiji's communication network. Looking at the comments on the program team's official platform, the grievances had caught the program team off guard. The chief editor, who was in charge of all 5 channels, was so angry that his face was red. He asked a technician, "Have you found the reason?" "Indeed, the live broadcast signal has been disconnected. We can't get in touch with Kevin Lin. Should we try contacting Baiji Base first?" "Then contact Baiji Base first." The chief editor was furious. How does Kevin Lin handle things? Can't they find a place with a strong signal? If it was a jungle livestream, then so be it. Why did it have to be in a place with an unstable signal? Moreover, it just had to be cut off at this time. Many people on the internet had already accused them of deliberately playing this trick with the goal of attracting the public's attention. What bullshit! But soon, the program's chief editor heard even worse news. "Boss, we can't contact Baiji Base either." "How is this possible? Didn't they just upgrade their transceiver network?" At the same time, in the forest near Planet Baiji's Outpost 23, after Yen Biao indicated that Fang Zhao could make his move, he waited a few seconds, but Fang Zhao did not fire. Just as he was about to say something, he saw Fang Zhao put away his gun and look up at the sky. "What's wrong?" Yen Biao remembered that Fang Zhao's hearing was better than the average person's. "Did you hear something? I have a bad feeling. Something is about to happen," Fang Zhao said. "You heard it?" Yen Biao was puzzled. Intuition. The way Fang Zhao looked at Yen Biao did not look like he was joking. Yen Biao stopped smiling and tried to contact the people at the outpost, but found that he could not get in touch with them. No signal. No signal. Kevin Lin was also astonished. Even the live broadcast signal is gone. Is there a problem with the base or the outpost? Yen Biao did not reply. He switched the mode on his communications device to the outpost's internal network and connected. Is there anything strange at the outpost? Nothing, everything is normal, the person in charge of security at the outpost replied. However, we can't contact the base. Can we contact the other outposts? Yen Biao asked. We can't contact them either. Only our Outpost 23 district's internal network is working. Then there must be a problem with the base's main network. After some thought, Yen Biao instructed the people at the outpost, stay alert. Pay attention to the surroundings and see if there are any suspicious objects. Adjust the defense system to the highest level and keep it on. I will be there in half an hour. After ending the call, Yen Biao told Kevin Lin and Fang Zhao, let's head back to the outpost first. All right, let's head back. Kevin Lin could not wait to head back. There was really no sense of security in the forest. Although he did not know what exactly had happened, he could feel the tension from the expressions of the others and the surrounding atmosphere. Whether or not they were being paranoid, it was always safer to hide at the outpost. When they had left the outpost, they had not been in a rush, so they had walked slowly. But now was a special situation, and Yen Biao wanted to rush back as soon as possible. The people at the outpost were fine, and so was Fang Zhao, but Kevin Lin could not. Yen Biao glanced at Kevin Lin, who was already panting from exhaustion after running for a short while. He got Liu Da, the most robust member of the team, to carry Kevin Lin and run. It had taken over an hour to leave the outpost, but it had only taken 20 minutes to return. After entering the outpost, Yen Biao immediately rushed to the surveillance room to check if there were any other abnormalities. Fang Zhao helped Kevin Lin into the room. Kevin Lin, who had finally recovered, did not look good. It had not been nice to be carried all the way. Fang Zhao, take a guess. What exactly happened? Did the base's transceiver network malfunction? Or was it an attack? Kevin Lin started to think as soon as he rested. His professional mindset made him like to think the worst. It's definitely nothing good, Fang Zhao said. Kevin Lin looked at Fang Zhao in astonishment. How rare to hear you say this. Why are you so sure? You really didn't figure it out? Intuition. Fang Zhao did not want to elaborate. He had no way of knowing the situation at the base, so he sat on the edge of the bed and pondered quietly. His brows furrowed, and the bad feeling grew stronger. Out of the corner of his eye, Fang Zhao glanced over. Without being fed, the usually lazy rabbit in the water tank was actually glowing and swimming more vigorously. Fang Zhao turned on his communications device and contacted Yen Biao through the outpost's internal network. What's the matter? Yen Biao's voice was tense. He seemed to have sensed something and was not as casual as usual. Something is coming. It should be from the sky. It's not safe here, Fang Zhao said. Yen Biao did not make a sound. He was probably considering whether or not to listen to Fang Zhao's suggestion. Fang Zhao did not wait long. 5 seconds later, Yan Biao said, "I'll get someone to bring you to the underground shelter. It can defend against an air raid to a certain extent." Very quickly, a few sentries brought Fang Zhao and Kevin Lin to the outpost's underground shelter. Not long after, Fan Lin and the other scientists were brought down as well. "If the underground shelter can't take it, we can leave through the emergency exit over there." The sentries who had brought them pointed to the layout on the wall. The layout of the underground shelter was marked out in detail. "Understood. You guys be careful too." As the oldest person here, Fan Lin appeared very calm. He had to be calm. After the outpost team left, the underground shelter quieted down. The atmosphere was somewhat stifling. To ease everyone's nerves, Fan Lin smiled and asked Fang Zhao, "Why did you bring it too?" When Fang Zhao had come down, he had brought the water tank with him. At this moment, the fellow in the water tank was glowing. "It seems very agitated?" Fang Zhao said. "No, it could be afraid. It probably sensed danger." Fan Lin's words caused the atmosphere in the underground shelter to become even more stifling. Kevin Lin looked around and said worriedly, "This place is too old. I wonder what the quality is like." The outpost's defense system and communication equipment had been upgraded, but the underground shelter had not. It looked very simple and crude. "Everyone, be careful," Fang Zhao suddenly said. Boom, the entire underground shelter shook. "What happened?" Boom, before Kevin Lin could finish speaking, there was another boom. The underground shelter shook, and those who had lost their footing almost fell. Some debris fell from the ceiling, and a few items on the table tumbled down. The outpost was attacked, but the 2 shots just now did not hit. They were probably intercepted in mid-air by the outpost. Fan Lin consoled everyone. "Don't be too pessimistic. The outpost's defense system has been upgraded." Fan Lin was only halfway through his sentence when there was a loud boom. It was as if the entire outpost had been placed in a box and had been violently shaken by someone. The few scientists who had been sitting and standing fell to the ground. If Fan Lin had not been held up by Fang Zhao, he would have definitely fallen to the ground. Kevin Lin's face hit the ground, and blood flowed from his nose. If Fang Zhao had not pulled him to the side, he might have been hit by something falling from the ceiling. The lights in the room sizzled and went out. The rabbit in the water tank lit up the room. "How is everyone?" Fang Zhao scanned the others. "Someone is injured, but it shouldn't be life-threatening," one of the scientists replied. Fang Zhao glanced at the layout on the wall and walked over to the fallen cabinet in the corner. He pried open the deformed cabinet door and took out the first aid kit. "There's a limited supply of medicine. Everyone, treat the injured first. Those with more serious injuries will be prioritized." "Fang Zhao, what do you think of me?" Kevin Lin, whose face was covered in blood, asked. Fang Zhao glanced at him. "Minor injuries. Wait here." "Oh." After Kevin Lin's nervousness had subsided, his occupational habit kicked in. He switched on the video camera. Although he could not go online and start a live broadcast, he could still film. He switched the camera to shooting mode and first filmed his surroundings before turning it to face himself. He raised his hand to wipe the blood from his nose. "Hello everyone, I am your old friend Kevin Lin. My work ID number is LKW7986 from Huangzhou. Now, I am taking refuge in the basement of Planet Baiji's Outpost 23. The outpost has been attacked, and we still don't know what the situation is like up there." After saying a bunch of things to the camera, Kevin Lin set the video he had just shot to be automatically sent. Once communications were restored, it would automatically be sent to the news agency's program team. "Fang Zhao, do you want to film a part?" Kevin Lin asked. "Film what?" Last words. Chapter 208. He stared at Kevin Lin silently for 2 seconds before brushing aside the camera Kevin Lin had passed to him. "No need." Following that, Fang Zhao continued to treat the wounds of the injured. During the period of destruction, this sort of situation was a daily occurrence, a sudden attack and the threat of death. Back then, it was all too normal. No one knew what would happen to them in the next moment. But this was the new era. For people who were used to living peacefully, this sort of attack was akin to doomsday, and it put a lot of pressure on their psyches. Actually, according to the customs of the period of destruction, Fang Zhao had written his will shortly after his rebirth and saved it on his personal terminal. However, he would revise it every once in a while because his assets were changing. And if one day he suddenly passed away due to an accident, once it was determined that he was dead, the will saved on his personal terminal would automatically be made public. However, the current situation wasn't that bad. According to Fang Zhao's own judgment, there was still a chance of survival. At least for now, they were all taking refuge in the basement. Based on the sounds of activity, there weren't many attackers. But Kevin Lin didn't know anything. This was the first time he had experienced something like this. Although he had encountered some dangerous situations in the past, it had never been as stressful as this one. When the explosion had happened, he had even thought that he was going to die. However, as a reporter, Kevin Lin knew how to weigh the pros and cons. After weighing the pros and cons, he made up his mind. Although he didn't know if he could safely survive this crisis, this was also an opportunity. Since he couldn't extricate himself from this predicament, he had to grab hold of this opportunity. He wanted to record this real incident and report the real situation on the battlefield like those outstanding predecessors at Frontline First had done. The difference was that he didn't have a high level of awareness like fearlessness. On a mental level, he was still at the level of scared to death but helpless. If he had not survived, what he had recorded might have made him a member of the Hall of Fame in the journalist circle. His portrait would have been revered by others. In the future, when he made documentaries or educational films, it might even have been an excerpt from the real footage. And if he could safely survive this ordeal, he would be rich. Although there were no written rules in the circle, when it came to reporting on entertainment programs and war situations, the latter was much more impressive. Even political news couldn't compare to the value of war reports. But professional war reporters didn't show their faces, and amateur reporters didn't want to encounter a real war. It was easy to lose their lives. But no one would be willing to give up such an opportunity. Taking a deep breath, Kevin Lin tried his best to calm the fear in his heart. His slightly shaky hand once again controlled the camera and continued to record. I can still hear some noises, big and small. There is a firefight going on up there. We were bombarded 3 times in total. The first 2 were blocked by the defense system, and the third one was not completely blocked. We were all injured. Kevin Lin had wanted to slap Fang Zhao first, but when he scanned the area, he realized that Fang Zhao was the only one who could be considered unscathed. Not wanting to slap himself in the face, Kevin Lin directed the camera toward Fan Lin and the other researchers, skillfully capturing only Fang Zhao's back view. As a reporter with many years of work experience, although it was his first time filming in such a situation, Kevin Lin was very good at controlling the camera image. The images captured by the camera were very good at exaggerating the atmosphere. He captured the mess in the room and the tragic situation of the injured. He did not cherry-pick his words. He was good at using the camera to speak. Words were only supplementary. Simple words could better explain the scene in the camera. My guess is that the attackers this time are terrorists. Moreover, they have been planning this for a long time. Once his brain started working, Kevin Lin's thoughts became much clearer, unlike when he had been in a stupor when he had been frightened. Kevin Lin analyzed the situation from the loss of signal to the loss of contact with the base, all the way to the current situation. Fang Zhao helped apply medicine to the injured while listening to Kevin Lin's analysis of the attackers. Having been reborn for so long, Fang Zhao had indeed never experienced war. Life in the New Era cities was very peaceful. Even though there was the matter of Suho in Muzhou, generally speaking, it was still considered peaceful. After all, the world was unified, and the various continents cooperated as one. However, in the unseen places, there were still disputes. There were internal conflicts among the ruling class of the alliance, but the outside world was not peaceful either. It just did not affect the lives of ordinary people. Fang Zhao did not find it strange. During the period of destruction, everyone had united against the outside world. However, after the founding of the era, the distribution of benefits was uneven, and people were greedy. If things were not controlled well, there would be more internal conflicts. Yanzhou was the best example. Back then, when Yanzhou's founding great general Wu Yan had died, the Wu family's internal strife had caused the number 1 person in Yanzhou to change hands. For a long time, the Wu family had been in a rather awkward position. Even though they had developed again, they had no way of regaining absolute authority and could only change their development path. As for those extremist terrorists, Fang Zhao had also heard some people mention them. Before his military service, when great-grandfather Fang had been discussing experiences with Fang Zhao, he had also mentioned those people who went against the Allied government. Great-grandfather Fang commented, "Those people are all lunatics. No matter what they say, it is all an excuse. They are just doing it to satisfy their own desires." There were many organizations that the Allied government could not control. Actually, there were such organizations in every era, whether it was the new era or the old era. However, not every organization would harm society. Those that could be classified as terrorists were considered highly dangerous. At the same time, on planet Baiji base, Shanta was currently in a state of violent rage. He had just vented his anger at his subordinates in the command center. Now that he had calmed down, the killing intent in his eyes made a few military reporters who had been about to ask about the situation swallow their words. Shanta did not even look at those reporters. He immediately closed the door to the command center, blocking off the view of others and also isolating the sounds outside. 40 minutes ago, the base's communications network had suddenly been paralyzed, catching Shanta unprepared. How many times have I emphasized that we must be vigilant and cautious when upgrading the communications network? Can't they fucking remember? So what if they are communications engineers from the Academy of Sciences? Careless and self-righteous. They are usually praised so highly by others that they have forgotten their own capabilities. Shanta's suppressed rage flared up again. They still have some ability. It's just that this time, they were not able to execute it perfectly, allowing others to take advantage of a loophole, a high-ranking member of the base said. This time, it is very obvious that someone had planned this long ago. It is very likely that it was planned long before the discovery of Baijior. They also had a thorough understanding of Planet Baiji's military arrangements. This was not a last-minute decision. Those engineers are just asking for a scolding. When Shanta thought about what had happened in the past 40 minutes, he could not contain his anger. If they had been a little more cautious, would this have happened? Even if the communications network had been paralyzed, there would not have been any major problems and could have been repaired quickly. But now? It has been 40 minutes. I don't need to tell you what can happen in 40 minutes. You all should know. The room was silent for a moment. Those present were all experienced people. In 40 minutes, the base had no way of knowing the situation in other parts of Planet Baiji. Who knew how many losses there would be if things went out of control? Now, they could only use the base's internal communications network to communicate. Shanta knocked on the table and asked, "Guess who did it this time?" Everyone present thought of the same thing. Besides, who else could it be? The T organization was their abbreviation for the extremist organization known as Tomorrow's Empire. A new call came in, and Shanta hurriedly picked it up. The people who were sent to scout out the nearby outposts have returned. For now, there are no abnormalities. People from the mining area have reported that the mining area was attacked. The situation is under control. 7 terrorists have been killed and 31 active personnel have been injured. For now, there are no fatalities. These reports made the people in the command room heave a rare sigh of relief. The defense of the mining area had been personally laid out by Shanta, and he had repeatedly emphasized that the troops guarding the mine should not let any suspicious points slip by. Now, it seemed like it had been effective. It was rare to get a few pieces of good news, but Shanta still felt uneasy. He picked up his communications device and contacted the engineer who was repairing the communications network. "Is it done?" It was just 3 words, but each word carried a hint of gunpowder. The engineer on the other end of the line sounded a little timid and stiff. "Not yet. 20 minutes. If it can't be repaired in 20 minutes, the few of you can scram back to where you came from." Without waiting for the engineer to say anything, Shanta cut off the call. He would wait for at most an hour. 40 minutes had already passed. If he continued waiting for another 20 minutes, if it still couldn't be repaired, he would implement another set of plans. The engineer, who had been mercilessly flung at by Shanta, had no choice but to endure it, even though his face had turned red. This time, they had gone to great lengths to snatch a spot on Planet Baiji to upgrade the communications network, but they had never imagined that there would be a problem right after they arrived. It was indeed their negligence that had given the enemy an opportunity. If it couldn't be repaired in 20 minutes and they were chased back by Shanta, they would not have the face to continue staying at the Academy of Science HQ. Most importantly, being chased back would be a black mark on their careers. In the future, they would no longer have the chance to advance. Luckily, under the heavy pressure, they were finally able to temporarily restore the communications network at the 19th minute. Although it was still not stable, at least they had saved some face. At most, it would be completely stabilized in another 15 minutes. Practically the moment the communications network was restored, Shanta received news from the various outposts. The other outposts were still fine, but outposts 8, 23, 61, 85, and 97 had been attacked. The communications network had not been completely restored, and the signal was still unstable. Shanta wanted to contact these 5 outposts, but the connection was intermittent. However, he was still able to report the general situation. Luckily, due to the discovery of Baijior, the various outposts' defense systems had been upgraded. Otherwise, the 5 outposts would surely have completely lost contact. Or perhaps, the 5 outposts would have already disappeared from Planet Baiji. This also made Shanta certain that this attack had definitely been premeditated. Long before the discovery of Baiji or Planet Baiji had already been targeted. It had not been a last-minute decision by those people. And now, those people had still launched an attack. Perhaps they were worried that Planet Baiji's defense forces would be even larger in the future, and their defenses would be even tighter, making it more difficult to strike. They also did not want to give up on this attack, so they had hastily staged this attack. Suddenly remembering something, Shanta jerked his head up and asked the person in the command room, "Where did Fan Lin transfer Fang Zhao's military service position to?" The adjutant pulled up Fang Zhao's military service file. In the active service column, it read, Outpost 23. The room once again fell silent. The atmosphere was heavy. Fan Lin, a senior professor at the Academy of Science HQ, a senior professor in charge of a major project, was a celebrity in Muzhou. The 8 scientists were all elite researchers under Fan Lin. If something really happened this time, Fan Lin's laboratory would be wiped out in one go. There was also Fang Zhao and Kevin Lin, who carried Project Starlight missions and received a lot of attention. If something happened, it would definitely not be covered up, not to mention that they had been broadcasting live before the signal had been cut. Fang Zhao, the discoverer of Baiji ore, could be considered the person who had changed Planet Baiji's fate. Shanta was also grateful to him, especially for that pair of ears. If something happened to them because of this attack, it would be a pity. Fang Zhao's change in military service was not made public. Even during the live broadcast, it was not announced that Fang Zhao was at Outpost 23, someone said. Fan Lin's decision to come here was also because he saw that Baiji ore had been discovered, so they were not the target. It's a diversion. These people just want to create an ambush. The base's defenses have been strengthened. They know that attacking a base is asking for trouble, so after probing here and attracting our attention, they might as well give up on the base and attack the outposts. As for why Outpost 23 was chosen, all we can say is that Fan Lin and Fang Zhao were unlucky, a major general said. Shanta did not continue wasting time here. He immediately sent people to the 5 outposts that had been attacked to provide support. Online, people far away from the battle did not know the current situation on Planet Baiji. At this moment, they only felt resentment. First frontline people, don't play dead. Where's the live broadcast? Why isn't it done yet? Complaint, we want to complain. At the start, many media outlets had taken advantage of this opportunity to attack First Frontline, especially those news agencies that were similar in nature to First Frontline. Previously, they had been jealous that First Frontline could use Project Starlight to regain their popularity. Now, they finally had a chance to criticize them. Besides people criticizing First Frontline, there were also people who took advantage of this opportunity to criticize Fang Zhao. After all, Fang Zhao had risen too quickly and blocked many people's paths. As for those entertainment magazines, at this moment, they were even more excited. They loved to take advantage of this opportunity to muddy waters. After all, they would not be caught if they followed in to criticize, and they could also take advantage of this opportunity to attract traffic. Who knows, after the momentum was set, there might be people who would use money to shut their mouths. If they did not take advantage of this opportunity, how could they be worthy of their bank accounts? Thus, in the short half an hour that the live broadcast had been cut off, the internet was filled with cursing. However, as time passed and the live broadcast did not resume, First Frontline also continued to play dead and did not make any public replies. However, people with sharp senses discovered that the voices of mainstream media criticizing First Frontline gradually disappeared. Popular entertainment media also gradually quieted down. Those who were still stirring up the momentum online were either not sharp enough and did not have a news channel, or they were idiots who were blinded by profits. At a certain Huangzhou news agency, the people who operated the online communication platform had received instructions from the top to delete the article that had just been posted criticizing First Frontline. Why delete it? There are many people who reposted it. This is all traffic, and traffic means money. The people who operated the platform did not understand. Could it be that someone is throwing money at us to delete it? Another person guessed. Regardless of the reason, since the top wants us to delete it, then let's delete it. Yenzhou, Silver Wing Headquarters Building. After Duan Qianji received a call from her husband, Hong Lu, she told the Public Relations Department to temporarily keep quiet. There were still many people online who were spurred on to curse Fang Zhao. It didn't matter if they were purely looking for something to vent their frustrations or if they were really full of resentment. After cursing, they would follow others and say, Silver Wing, come out and clean up the mess. After all, this sort of thing was not illegal. Silver Wing 50th floor, Virtual Projects Department. Zhu Wen and a few other technical staff were currently using sock puppets to fight online. Pang Pusong was puzzled. It has been almost an hour, and the company's public relations personnel have yet to make a move. First Frontline also did not give an explanation. It is not just them. Did you all notice that the few news agencies that attacked First Frontline at the start have all deleted their posts? Jinro said. That's true. Not only have they deleted them, they have also maintained their silence. Even those few Yenzhou companies that have always been at odds with us have shut up. Does that mean that the company and First Frontline have actually made a move? Zhu Wen asked. No, Jinro said in a low voice. I feel that something might have happened. Silver Wing did not have the ability to simultaneously make so many competitors maintain their silence, unless there was something that could make so many large media companies in Yenzhou and outside of Yenzhou keep their mouths shut and not dare to speak carelessly. Zhu Wen was about to continue asking when he heard the notification of a new message. When he opened it, his eyeballs almost popped out. Fuck. Terrorist attack? Jinro clicked on the link. It was the news being broadcasted on Huangzhou's military news channel. Planet Baiji suffered a terrorist attack. Communication network temporarily paralyzed. Unable to contact. This news caused the online war of words to suddenly come to a halt, as if a large-scale freezing spell had been cast on it. Alien bases being attacked by terrorists wasn't news. It happened once or twice a year, especially those remote places with inadequate equipment and poor conditions. They were the easiest targets. But it was also precisely because of the distance that people would listen to it, comment on it, and let it pass. It had nothing to do with them. Only those who were about to serve would pay attention to it and try their best to keep their places of military service as far away as possible. And people who did not pay attention to political news simply did not know what a terrorist attack was. But this time, Planet Baiji was really in the limelight, and there were too many people paying attention to it. Even through the internet, everyone felt as if it had happened right in front of their eyes. As a result, many people were stunned by this news. Terrorist attack? Look at the time. It happened when the live broadcast was cut off. Is this really not a movie? 5 minutes later. A piece of news appeared online with an accompanying picture. The picture was a screenshot of Planet Baiji's promotional video, except that there was an extra large T on it. Very quickly, all the major media outlets reported on this matter and explained the meaning of the picture. The terrorist organization Tomorrow's Empire, or T organization, claims responsibility for the attack on Planet Baiji. Yanbei Retirement Home for Retired Officials. When great-grandfather Fang, who was watering the plants, saw the news, his hands trembled and he dropped his watering can. Great-grandmother Fang hurriedly picked up her communications device and contacted her former comrades, hoping to get the latest news on Planet Baiji. The two elders' faces were pale. Now, they regretted agreeing to let Fang Zhao serve on Planet Baiji. Even though they often said that the younger generation should enlist in the military and serve in tough places, sometimes they turned a blind eye. Speaking of which, they still felt sorry for the younger generation. At that time, the two elders had been very happy with Fang Zhao's decision, but at the same time, they were also worried that Fang Zhao would encounter some bad things. The discovery of Baiji or had made great-grandfather Fang very proud in the retirement home for a while, but he had never expected that after a few days, he would encounter such a situation. Little Zhao is the discoverer of Baiji or, and he is also a celebrity. They have probably sent quite a number of people to protect him. He should be fine. Yes, he will definitely be fine. Great-grandfather Fang did not know if he was consoling his wife or convincing himself. After muttering a few words, he hurriedly picked up his communications device and continued contacting people to help him gather information. On Planet Baiji, when Kevin Lin received the notification that the transmission had been successful, he was ecstatic. A successful transmission meant that communications had been restored. Restored communications proved that the base had definitely received the news and would surely send reinforcements. Even if the base was too busy, he could still send the news back to the news agency and even get in touch with his family. However, when he saw the status of the transmission, he felt as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over his head. He had taken so many videos, but only the first video had been successfully transmitted. He still did not know how long it had taken for the transmission to succeed. The second video was stuck at 19%, and progress was slow. Live broadcasts were even more impossible. He could not contact the base either. He did not know why. Is it because the signal in the basement is too weak? Kevin Lin asked. Professor Fan, have you managed to get in touch? Fan Lin shook his head. He felt very sorry for Fang Zhao and Kevin Lin. After all, he had played some tricks to transfer Fang Zhao over. Who knew that this would happen? Fan Lin sighed. Fang Zhao, this time it was my fault. I should not have transferred you over. After waiting for a while, Fang Zhao did not reply. Fan Lin looked over and saw that Fang Zhao, who had been tending to the wounded, had stood up and was looking at the basement door. The room suddenly became a little brighter. The light emitted by the rabbit in the water tank was much brighter than before. The originally soft fur stood up one by one, and the ends of each strand of fur had some bright spots. It looked very beautiful, but Fan Lin felt a sense of danger. Anyone who touched it now would be unlucky. Many animals had a stronger sense of danger than humans. The people in this basement were no fools. That was why they were nervous. What's outside? Kevin Lin's excitement had already faded completely. Now that he had calmed down and listened carefully for even the slightest movement, he could faintly hear strange howls that made all the hair on his body stand on end. Fang Zhao did not reply. Instead, he walked to the door and pressed a button on the wall. A screen popped up, showing the scene outside the basement door. Because it had not been changed in a long time and had not been maintained, the equipment was rather old, and the image would jerk from time to time. There were no lights outside, and the camera was in night vision mode. The colors were not that bright, but they were still rather clear, transmitting the situation outside the door. A creature with 4 slender limbs walked past the basement door. It had hook-like claws, and the fur on its body seemed to be knotted inch by inch. On parts of its exposed skin, tendons bulged and throbbed. Its face was ferocious, and there was some liquid dripping from the edge of its fangs. It was unknown whether it was saliva or blood. This sort of sick creature was definitely not a wild animal of planet Baiji. Bang! The crisp sound of a hard object breaking suddenly rang out in the quiet basement, startling everyone. Everyone followed the sound and saw that Fang Zhao had been holding onto a piece of metal he had taken from a wounded soldier, but it had been forcefully snapped in half. Fang Zhao's back was facing them. His usually calm and composed eyes were now like a sharpened blade, suffused with an ominous glint. He seemed to be standing there calmly, but Fang Zhao's heart was raging with rage. Those creatures from the period of destruction were no longer considered a threat to the people of the new era. There were even some wealthy people who wanted to keep a period of destruction creature as a pet, but the law forbade it. There were strict regulations regarding experiments on period of destruction creatures. Applications had to go through layers of scrutiny, and if any violations were discovered, the offender would be sentenced to death. Some people had illegally conducted period of destruction experiments for the sake of money, such as collecting specimens and bone ornaments from the period of destruction. Some people had other motives, such as using the creature as a biological weapon. There was definitely more than one in the outpost. The attackers had deliberately let them in to attack the outpost team. The people of the new era might have just been disgusted by the actions of terrorists, but Fang Zhao was furious. Nearly 100 years of war and so many sacrifices had been made just to see you guys let them out again? Is this a rebellion? Chapter 209. The temperature of the entire basement seemed to drop abruptly, making people shiver uncontrollably. There seemed to be a faint murderous aura here. Kevin Lin thought it might be because of the image displayed on the screen. His body had reacted in fear, but he also felt that something was not right. Following that, Kevin Lin turned his gaze back to Fang Zhao. Kevin Lin glanced at the metal fragments in Fang Zhao's hands. Although many of the things in this basement were older, he did not know what material this piece of metal was made of. It was probably some cheap material that had been used when this place was first built. Although it could not compare to modern materials, it was still not something an ordinary person could easily crush. However, seeing how Fang Zhao usually did farm work, he was not that surprised. Fang Zhao? What's wrong? Kevin Lin asked. Fang Zhao retracted his gaze from the screen, threw away the fragments in his hands, and replied, "I'll go out in a bit." Fang Zhao's tone was no different from before, but what he said almost made Kevin Lin jump. "No." Kevin Lin vehemently objected. "Going out to die? Didn't you see that thing outside? Can you survive if you go out? Even a few lives won't be enough to feed it." Actually, Fang Zhao had not planned on going out. Even if he wanted to go out and help the outpost team, there were still people here who needed protection. Although the basement had helped them avoid a few rounds of bombing, what if something happened? What if something happened? The people here did not have much fighting power. Therefore, according to Fang Zhao's original plan, he would stay here with Kevin Lin and Fan Lin's research team. If anything happened, they could help. But now, after seeing that thing outside, Fang Zhao could no longer suppress the anger in his heart. However, he was confident that he could deal with this thing, but he still had to consider the others. He knew that now was not the best time for him to go out. He had to wait until the thing outside was a little further away before going out. Probably because it smelled the scent of humans, the thing outside raised its head and sniffed before moving closer to the door. No matter how much Kevin Lin wanted to say, he did not dare say it now. He was afraid that the thing outside would hear him. He did not know how good the soundproofing was, so he could only keep his mouth shut to be safe. Bang! Bang! The sound of the door banging made the people inside even more nervous. Beads of sweat rolled down Kevin Lin's forehead as he stared at the door. Every time the door banged, he felt his whole body tremble. He could only pray that the basement door was made of good material and that it was not damaged by the explosion just now, so it could withstand the impact. The researchers were equally nervous. Their bodies were as stiff as a rock. Fortunately, a lot of thought had been put into the construction of this basement. After the thing outside bumped into it a few times, it let out an unwilling cry and then sniffed. Probably smelling something else, it quickly left along the passage outside. There was a long panting sound in the room. They knew that they were safe for now. Only then did Kevin Lin feel his legs go weak. He checked the camera. Good, the scene just now had been recorded. Kevin Lin was just about to face the camera and reminisce about his current mood when he heard Fang Zhao say, "I'll go out and take a look." Are you crazy? Kevin Lin couldn't understand why Fang Zhao still wanted to go out after experiencing such a tense situation. Fan Lin also advised, "Fang Zhao, don't be rash. I know you want to go out and help, but leave those outside to the outpost team. They are the professionals." That's right. Just leave that to the outpost team. Also, the communication network seems to be recovering, so the base must have found out about what happened here. We just have to wait here for the base to send someone over. Besides, what can you do even if you go out? You don't even have a gun? Where did your gun come from? As Kevin Lin spoke, he saw Fang Zhao pull out a gun from who knew where. Kevin Lin, who was originally leaning against the wall, jumped up in shock. His eyes were wide open, and he looked as if he couldn't believe what he had just seen. This, whose gun is this? How did you bring it in? Or did you dig it out from somewhere in the basement? Kevin Lin asked in succession. Fang Zhao didn't explain. I'm going out for a while. Also, he pointed to the camera, remember to cut the footage from just now? Glancing at the surveillance screen, Fang Zhao confirmed that there were no other suspicious figures in the passageway outside. He listened carefully again before picking up a steel pipe from the table. Then he opened the door and quickly exited, gesturing for Kevin Lin to quickly close the door and lock it. The scene of the thing outside banging against the door showed that the place was still secure, so he could leave without worry. Kevin Lin was angry and anxious, but Fang Zhao simply wouldn't listen to him. Fang Zhao had already left. All Kevin Lin could do now was close the door and watch the surveillance screen. The passageway was dim. Most of the lights had been damaged in the previous bombardment. Vision was limited, but hearing was more sensitive. Fang Zhao listened carefully for any movement and quickly ran toward the front of the tunnel. At one end of the passageway, a section that had been sealed off had collapsed. A person wearing a sentinel uniform was half buried there. Walker felt that today was probably his last day. One of his arms was basically useless, and both his legs were buried. Every slight movement caused excruciating pain all over his body, rendering him unable to exert any strength. His teammates had wanted to come over and help, but he had rejected them. Now, there was no time to waste on him. He could only move one arm and had no strength. Firing a gun was tiring, let alone aiming accurately. Walker sighed softly and looked at the round black block in his hand. This was his last grenade. Even if he had to die, he had to buy one more. He could already hear screams coming from inside the passageway. Grunts of breathing mixed with sharp roars were the sound of bloodthirsty excitement. Walker moved his thumb and slid the switch on the side of the round black block to the other side, turning the grenade from its unlocked state. His finger moved to the button in the middle and he looked toward the passageway. Looking from the light to the darkness, he could not see anything. He could only rely on his hearing to determine the distance of the target. Every movement of his arm felt like it was being pricked by needles. If he did not aim accurately, what would he do if he did not blow up that thing? Then he would wait for it to get closer. Just a little bit closer, he was going to die anyway. Walker counted in his heart. He could already vaguely make out the figure of the strange creature rushing over. As the figure gradually became clearer, he could already see the sinister face and the open fangs. But, Walker's ears twitched. Was there someone coming from behind that thing? Was it friend or foe? Just as he was thinking about this, Walker heard a loud bang. The strange creature that was running at high speed fell to the ground and slid forward for some distance. Walker could see the bullet hole in the creature's head. He tilted his head and looked at the bullet mark on the wall. Just now, that high-speed bullet had directly pierced through the strange creature's head. An unfamiliar gunshot and an unfamiliar bullet hole. It was not the type of gun used by the sentinel or the base. Who was it? Walker, who was holding a grenade in his hand and ready to die a heroic death, was stunned. He wanted to open his eyes wide to see who it was, but the other party was not in a hurry to come over. Bang, bang, the sound of a stick hitting the wall echoed in the long passageway. Grunt, 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 a low growl came from above. Walker carefully raised his head. Above him, at the edge of the caved-in area, stood another monster. However, the monster was attracted by the sound of knocking in the passageway below and did not look at him. Bang, 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 the sound was hurried and the monster let out a few growls before jumping down from above. Walker's mind was filled with all sorts of ideas on how to deal with the predicament before him. Just as he started thinking, he heard a bang. Blood splattered on Walker's face, bringing with it an unfamiliar and nauseating stench. However, Walker did not care about it at all. He stared dumbfoundedly at the monster that had just jumped down and had yet to stabilize itself before its head was blown off. He stiffly turned his neck and looked at the passageway. The sound of knocking on the wall had stopped when the gunshot rang out. Walker looked over. As the other party neared, an unexpected figure appeared in his line of sight. Fang Zhao. Walker said with difficulty, as if someone had grabbed his neck. Worried that he was seeing things, he shut his eyes tightly before opening them again. That's right. It's Fang Zhao. How could it be Fang Zhao? For a moment, all sorts of guesses, optimistic and pessimistic, appeared in Walker's mind. Fan Lin had brought Fang Zhao over for a few days. Everyone at the outpost had seen the person who had changed Planet Baiji's fate. Walker had also discussed Fang Zhao with his comrades in private. He knew that this person was a small-time star who played games and composed music. However, over the past few days, many people at the outpost had a pretty good impression of Fang Zhao. He did not put on any airs and treated people mildly. Sometimes, he would even help out the outpost team with some small tasks, giving them more opportunities to appear on live broadcasts. This was a good, upright, and down-to-earth youth. Without the layer of celebrity packaging, Fang Zhao was actually no different from an ordinary person. That reporter surnamed Lin had said that Fang Zhao looked like a celebrity. This was what they had thought in the past. However, now, Walker felt like he was getting to know Fang Zhao for the first time. Just meeting Fang Zhao's gaze for a brief moment made Walker feel a chill run down his spine. At this moment, Fang Zhao's body was clearly not stained with a few drops of blood, but Walker could feel a thick stench of blood surrounding him. Walker. Fang Zhao had only been at the outpost for a short time, but he had memorized the names of everyone in the outpost team. It's me. Walker had a stomach full of questions. For example, where had the gun in Fang Zhao's hand come from, why was his marksmanship so accurate, why had he appeared here, and so on, but he did not know how to ask. Fang Zhao walked over to take a look and could roughly determine Walker's current condition. He picked up the black grenade in Walker's hand and, with a flick of his finger, locked the grenade that could explode at any time due to a mistake. Fang Zhao rescued Walker from the rubble and brought him back to the basement. Bringing back an injured person after a trip out, the people in the basement looked at Fang Zhao with a strange expression, as if it was the first time they had seen him. There were limited items in the basement, so they could only give Walker some basic treatment. If they wanted further treatment, they could only wait until things were over and send him back to base. Chapter 210. Kevin Lin objected when he heard Fang Zhao's words. No way. Didn't you just go out for a while? You were lucky enough to come back safely. Let's just wait here. The people from the base will surely be here soon. Yeah, Fang Zhao, let's just wait here. Don't go out, Fan Lin advised. Walker glanced at Fang Zhao and said, if you go up there, you might get hurt accidentally. On the battlefield, even if you knew you were an ally, you might get hurt accidentally. If Fang Zhao went out like this, he might be mistaken for a terrorist and shot dead. Fang Zhao knew what they were talking about, but he still decided to go up. Fang Zhao left the basement once again. Kevin Lin could only stare helplessly. He turned his head and asked Fan Lin scientists, which one of you has better marksmanship? All the scientists shook their heads. Kevin Lin had never been in a real battle before, but at least he had played at the shooting range. Kevin Lin had never been in a real battle, but at least he had played around at the shooting range. Looking at Walker lying there, Kevin Lin's occupational disease flared up again. He started interviewing the wounded soldier. Somewhere on the first level of the outpost. Following a loud explosion, alarms started blaring continuously. A silhouette ran out. It was one of the terrorists who had attacked the outpost. At this moment, this terrorist was in a good mood. He had a maniacal and pleased smile on his face. He was not as useless as his two companions who had been killed by snipers the moment they had entered the outpost. He had successfully infiltrated the outpost and found the storehouse where the food, medicine, and other daily necessities were stored. Looking at the date, it seemed like they had been shipped over not too long ago. The quality was rather good. On a foreign planet, these kinds of daily necessities were very precious. He had just blown up a few storehouses. Looking at his results, he felt like his entire body was glowing with a sacred light. Not satisfied with blowing up that place, he saw that there were still some places that had not been destroyed, so he set another fire. The outpost's defense system had malfunctioned during the attack. It could only sound the alarm, but it was unable to extinguish the fire. The hurried fire alarm sounded worrisome, but to the terrorist, it sounded like a song of praise for his great achievements. It was a pity he could not blow up the base. If the Baiji ore had not been discovered, if the number of troops stationed there had not been increased, and if the defenses had not been strengthened, perhaps they would have turned planet Baiji upside down today. That would have been big news. However, when he remembered that the outpost they had raided was actually the place where the small-time celebrity was doing his live broadcast, he felt a surge of ecstasy in his heart. They had only found out that Fang Zhao was here after arriving and seeing the experimental plot. They had long since planned to attack planet Baiji. Of course, they knew what had happened on planet Baiji. They watched the live broadcasts every day, so of course, they recognized Fang Zhao's face. If he could find that little celebrity and do a live beheading, he would be the headline of all the news. That would also be big news. Everyone would know about him. Then, after acting tough, he committed suicide. Yes, it's decided. He licked his dry lips as if he had tasted blood. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. He was going to find the little celebrity that the outpost team had hidden. Where had the outpost team hidden him? Just as he was thinking, a hand appeared in front of his eyes like a ghost and rapidly enlarged. Before he could react, his whole body was sent flying by a strong force and crashed into the wall. His bones made brittle cracking sounds as if they were about to be shattered. Ah! A blood-curdling scream was quickly drowned out by the incessant blare of the alarm. His two arms hung limply, and his gun fell to the ground. The communicator he carried with him was also taken off, and with a thud, it was crushed. His entire body was grabbed by the neck, and like a piece of trash, he was dragged a little further away from the warehouse. A cold voice rang out. Someone from tomorrow's empire? When his whole body was lifted, he raised his head to look at the owner of the voice. The first thing he saw was the pitch-black muzzle of a gun pointed at him. Because of the previous bombing and fire, the temperature of the air had risen. The warm air that blew over carried a charred smell. Staying here for too long would cause one to sweat profusely. But at this moment, the pitch-black muzzle in front of him shone with a merciless cold light as if it was radiating cold air. The terrorist swallowed his saliva. Just now, he had only seen the other party's clothes. It was not the outpost team's uniform, so he had not been able to guess the other party's identity. But now his gaze passed through the gun and saw the other party's face, and he could not help but be stunned. Fang Zhao? You are Fang Zhao? After the initial shock, he was ecstatic. He even ignored the cold air coming from the muzzle of the gun. He had just been thinking of looking for this minor celebrity. Never had he expected that this minor celebrity would appear in front of him. This was simply heavenly help. But he had not expected this minor celebrity to be so skilled. He had been careless just now. A few thoughts flashed through his mind. Recalling what Fang Zhao had just asked, his eyes flashed. He had thought of a brilliant idea. That's right, I am someone from tomorrow's empire. For the empire, I am willing to sacrifice everything. Empire? Fang Zhao asked. That's right. For an empire that belongs to us. For the sake of creating a new world. We are all descendants of the founding era martyrs. What right do they have to enjoy such good resources while we are oppressed? The terrorist said with a look of righteous indignation. Descendants of the founding era martyrs? Fang Zhao asked again. The terrorist was about to say yes, but he paused and said, No, I am not a descendant of the founding era martyrs. I am a descendant of the period of destruction martyrs. The founding era martyrs and the period of destruction martyrs represented different groups of people. In the eyes of many people in the new era, the former represented those who had made great contributions to humanity among those who had founded the new era. The latter represented heroes who had sacrificed themselves during the period of destruction. Every time the period of destruction martyrs was mentioned, people would sigh in reverence. Descendants of the period of destruction martyrs? Fang Zhao frowned. Seeing Fang Zhao's special reaction to this question, the terrorist's eyes flashed with delight and he hurriedly said, That's right. Actually, he himself did not know whether his ancestors were martyrs or not, but regardless, if he said he was, then so be it. This was the only reason he could stir up trouble. Perhaps at some point, he had even hypnotized himself and firmly believed in his identity as a descendant of a martyr. He felt that everything he did was for the sake of his ancestors, that it was a matter of supreme honor, that it was all for the sake of tomorrow's new empire. They were just like those people from the founding era, fighting for a new future. That's right, they were not wrong. All the killing was for a better tomorrow. It would be best if there could be another period of destruction battle. Let's not talk about us martyrs who were forced to take this path. Do you know the martyr Fang Zhao? He has the same name as you. He is a very famous person in history. He is ranked second in the core area of Yenzhou Cemetery for martyrs, second only to Wu Yan. You are also from Yenzhou. Surely you know him, right? Unfortunately, he died in the 99th year of the period of destruction, and Wu Yan stole the credit. Look at how glorious the Wu family is now, but what about the descendants of the martyr Fang Zhao? I reckon they have long been squeezed into a corner. Fang Zhao watched as the other party complained about the injustice of a great person, speaking boldly and with strong emotions, as if it was really the case. But the person standing in front of him was Fang Zhao. During the period of destruction, who knew how many similar things had happened? Fang Zhao could tell that the terrorist was lying. What martyr descendants? That was all nonsense. Using the name of fighting for the injustice of those martyrs was just an excuse to satisfy his own interests and satisfy his own desires. Taking a step back, even if this person was speaking the truth, even if there were descendants of martyrs in this extremist organization, looking at the things they had done, Fang Zhao thought to himself, if those comrades who didn't make it to the founding era knew that their descendants would become like this, they would probably crawl out of the cemetery for martyrs in anger. Even in death, they wouldn't be able to rest in peace. As the terrorist spoke, he had been paying attention to the changes in Fang Zhao's expression. Sensing the change in Fang Zhao's expression when he heard what he said, a wave of excitement welled up in his heart. If he could successfully instigate Fang Zhao to defect, then he would have made a great contribution. If he couldn't, the terrorist hooked a finger by his side, and a sharp spike stuck to the center of his palm. He couldn't raise his arm, but he could still use his fingers. Think about the luxurious lifestyle the Wu family is living now, and then think about the martyr Fang Zhao who didn't get anything and was lying here all alone, unable to even ensure the livelihood of his descendants. If he were still alive, he would surely be indignant. He would surely approve of us. Bang! A bullet pierced through the terrorist's forehead and into the wall behind him. Fang Zhao looked at the fallen person and said in a deep voice, "I disagree." Fang Zhao didn't like these kinds of extremist organizations. Behind the deaths of the parents of the original owner of this body, there were traces of these extremist organizations. It wasn't that such incidents did not occur among the general public, but many of them were covered up so as not to cause panic. Over the years, anti-terrorism efforts had been quite strong, and this bunch of people's arrogance had diminished considerably. Otherwise, they wouldn't have targeted Planet Baiji and been in such a hurry to make their presence known. Previously, Planet Baiji had been an impoverished district. Impoverished places were easy targets. If they really had the guts, why didn't they attack the few planets at the top of the development sequence? If they really had lofty aspirations like they said, why were they only fixated on the immediate area? And even involving innocent civilians? If they wanted to establish their own empire, couldn't they have sought out other planets that had yet to be explored by the Alliance and opened up a truly new world? Instead of spending money on the right path, thinking of crooked ideas, going against society all day long, and actually stirring up those monsters from the period of destruction. What a scoundrel! Indeed, they deserved a beating. Back when Fang Zhao had been on the verge of death, he had also had some regrets. When he had seen the aristocrats of the various continents in the new era and seen online comments saying that he was the most unlucky leader of the period of destruction, it would be a lie to say that he hadn't had any regrets. But when he had looked at that azure planet from space, he had felt that everything had been worth it. All his regrets had been set aside. Following that, Fang Zhao wondered if there would really be a day when some scoundrel would impersonate his descendant and jump out to cause trouble. Chapter 211. Gunshots rang out all over the outpost. Yan Biao's face was deathly pale, and his face was covered in sweat. He looked at his blood-soaked pants and endured the pain. The bulging veins on his face twitched with every slight movement, but his eyes still scanned the surroundings like a radar. "Command room, what's the reply from the base?" Yan Biao asked the person who stayed in the command room through the communicator. His chest was heaving up and down violently, and his voice was a little rushed. "The base said they've already sent people over. Captain, you should receive treatment first." "You, Captain, you're hurt?" "Captain, don't delay the treatment. The base has already sent people over." We just need to hold on for a while. A few other voices came from the communicator. Their line was in multi-person communication mode. Guard your own side. Don't be distracted. I know my own situation best. Yan Biao wiped the sweat that was about to slide into his eyes. His sharp eyes were still staring at the ruins in front of him, trying to find the two hidden attackers. Those two people were too cunning. Yan Biao did not dare to be careless. Although he did not have a strong perception like the tomb guard, he could infer some things based on his experience and intuition. The two people hiding must have played a leading role in this round of attack. Even if they were not leading, they were key figures. They could not be allowed to get close to the outpost. But those two people were too sharp. They always managed to slip away before the snipers fired. Because of this, Yan Biao's determination to kill those two people was even firmer. If he was taken to a safe place for treatment now, he would definitely have to send someone to escort him. He would also need someone to cover for him. That would make it even more difficult to kill those two people. If he wanted to treat them, he would have to wait until those two people were killed before leaving. If he did not kill those two people, he would not be able to rest in peace. At this time, a voice came from the command room through the earpiece. Captain, the monitor shows that there are more monsters heading your way. Yan Biao's heart sank. He suspected that the two people hiding in front had used some means to attract more monsters to share the firepower. In that case, it would be even more difficult to kill those two terrorists. How many? Yan Biao asked. On your right, there are 7, 6, 5, 4. Yan Biao listened to the words from the communicator. His face darkened, and the protruding veins on his face twitched even more. Are you fucking playing with a countdown? Yan Biao growled. What kind of timing was this? No, Captain, I'm seriously reporting. There were indeed 7 on your right heading in your direction, but their numbers are decreasing. There are still 2, 1, gone. The right side is clear. Yan Biao inhaled sharply. How long has it been since they started talking? 7 of them, completely annihilated. Since when did the outpost team have such a sharpshooter? Who did it? Yan Biao asked. I don't know. Didn't you see? Is there not a single camera that's working? Yes, but I only saw the monsters falling one by one on the surveillance cameras. I don't know who fired the shots. But he doesn't look like someone from our outpost team. The gunshot doesn't sound right. It's not the type of gun our outpost uses. It sounds like an even older type of gun. Hearing this, Yan Biao was even more confused. Were they together with the attackers? But if they were from the other side, why would they shoot these monsters? Reinforcements have arrived? Not at all. If someone from the base came, there wouldn't be just one person. Who could it be? Find them, Yan Biao said. Actually, Yan Biao didn't need to say anything. The people in the command room were also seriously searching. Very quickly, the sensitive detectors captured the movement of living objects. Seeing the changes in the bright spots displayed on the monitor, the people in the command room stiffened and hurriedly said, Did Z? That person is heading in your direction. I don't know if he's a friend or foe. The words I don't know if he's a friend or foe surprised Riyadh. Usually, they would assume the worst, but this I don't know if he's a friend or foe meant that what the other party was doing was beneficial to their side. Riyadh was leading a team to clean up the terrorists and monsters that had entered the outpost. Upon hearing this news, he asked, Where? Needless to say, I've already heard gunshots. The passageway's camera was broken, so the people in the command room were unable to see the situation there. However, through the detectors, they could see the light spots that belonged to living objects. The blue ones belonged to the humans, while the red ones belonged to the monsters. There were 5 people on Riyadh's side, 5 blue light spots. In the middle of this long passageway, there were 6 red light spots that were rapidly moving toward Riyadh's side. However, at the other end of the passageway, there was another blue light spot that was rapidly catching up to the red light spots. Furthermore, during this process, the number of red light spots was still decreasing. As one of the witnesses at the scene, Riyadh felt this even more deeply. As the 6 monsters ran at high speed, they brought along the whistling sounds of the wind, as well as their strange low growls that spread along the passageway. Every time a gunshot rang out, a monster would fall. Riyadh did not get anyone to shoot. He only vigilantly watched the people coming over and the rapidly decreasing number of monsters. When they encountered these monsters, they would shoot from a distance. Unless it was absolutely necessary, they would not engage in close combat with them. This was because they did not understand them and were very passive. Shooting the head? It was easier said than done. In the past hour, they had already deeply experienced how difficult it was. But now, almost every single one of them was killed with a single shot. Disregarding marksmanship, Riyadh swore that he had never seen such a crazy person before. Yes, from Riyadh's point of view, this person was crazy. Not only was he able to kill them with a single shot, but after catching up to the monsters at an extremely fast speed, he still maintained his original speed and fearlessly charged over. Leo Dean frowned. Close combat? The steel pipe struck the monster's taut, rock-like muscles, producing muffled bangs. Before the bangs stopped, the second strike brought along a strong gale, accurately smashing into the monster's neck. The torrential attacks and the cracking sounds of bones breaking became one. Riyadh's frown turned into astonishment. One after another, the monsters fell to the ground, no longer moving. Bang! A gunshot rang out. The last monster fell heavily to the ground. The inertia of its forward charge caused it to slide a distance after falling, leaving behind a brown trail of blood on the ground and a bloody hole on its head. The whirlwind-like attack only took a few blinks of the eye. Before Riyadh could regain his senses, it was already over. The previously arrogant roars were forever silenced. The muscles at the corners of Riyadh's group of 5 twitched, especially when they saw the other party's face clearly. Their eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. Riyadh, what's the situation over there? Who is the other party? Is he a friend or foe? The person in the command room asked anxiously when he saw the 6 blue dots on the screen. Those on the same line also pricked up their ears. Riyadh listened to the questioning voice in his earpiece, opened his mouth, and spat out 2 words with great difficulty. Fang Zhao. Who? What? Those on the same line practically cried out in unison when they heard this name. Riyadh swallowed his saliva. When he saw Fang Zhao look over, he was startled and felt nervous for no reason. A layer of sweat actually appeared on his back. At this moment, Fang Zhao's entire body exuded a completely different fierceness than usual. Riyadh recalled the scene he had just witnessed. That kind of ruthlessness that simply did not give the other party the slightest bit of time to catch their breath. In the past, how could he have thought that Fang Zhao was a peaceful and harmless person? I was really fucking blind. Why are you here? Riyadh asked. I came out to take a look. Fang Zhao flicked the bloodstains on his steel pipe. What's the current situation? It's already under control. The people from the base should be arriving soon. Riyadh gave a brief summary of the current situation. This was not something that needed to be kept secret, so there was no need to hide it. Where did you come from? Other than these monsters, did you encounter any terrorists? Previously, 2 holes were blown up in the outpost. Someone infiltrated and destroyed a portion of the surveillance system. The command room was unable to locate them. Coming over from the warehouse, I encountered a terrorist. Does Captain Yan's side need help? I'll head over. Riyadh had already explained Yen Biao's situation. Fang Zhao decided to head over and see if he could help. The conversation between the two was clearly heard by the others through Riyadh's headset. Yen Biao listened to the conversation transmitted through the headset and still did not dare believe it. 2 minutes later, he looked at Fang Zhao with a complicated expression. Even a veteran like him had made an error in judgment, let alone others. Glancing at the gun in Fang Zhao's hand, it was indeed an old gun model that had already been discontinued. It was a standard gun model used by garrison troops decades ago. The question was, how had this little fellow gotten his hands on a gun and brought it over here? Even carrying a gun during military service? You need treatment as soon as possible, Fang Zhao said as he looked at the injuries on Yen Biao's body. Let's not worry about that for now. Fang Zhao, the people from the command room said that many of the monsters in the base were killed by you? 19, up until now, I have killed a total of 19, Fang Zhao replied. Hearing this number, Yen Biao's face twitched again. According to a rough estimate, the terrorists had placed 8 cages here during this attack. Each cage had about 15 monsters, so there had been a total of over 100 of those monsters. If what Fang Zhao said was true, then he had single-handedly killed 1/6 of them. If someone had said this to Yen Biao in the past, he definitely would not have believed it. The surrounding gunshots were concentrated, and quite a few monsters were coming over. This was also the reason why they had been guarding here all this time and had not been able to approach the ruins in front. Those monsters did not know pain. As long as they were not dead, they would carry out a massacre to the end. Your marksmanship is very good? Do you see that area in front? There are 2 terrorists hiding in those ruins. We can't let them get any closer to the outpost. You can work with Bi Liao. Do you know Bi Liao? He is our sniper. Those 2 terrorists are very crafty. It will be very difficult. Bang. The sound of gunfire exploded in his ears. The sound of an old-fashioned gun was so loud that Yen Biao's ears were ringing. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he recovered. It was also because he was seriously injured and weak. Otherwise, he would not have reacted this way. Yen Biao, who had just recovered, heard Sniper Bi Liao's voice through his earpiece. "Captain, one of the terrorists has been shot down. Looking at the bullet hole in his head and the spurting blood, he should be dead." "Well done." Yen Biao had a rare look of relief on his face. "It wasn't me," the sniper replied in a low voice. He had wanted to fire just now, but he had seen the target's head tilt to the side and blood spurt out. The terrorists who had been shot might not even know whether they had been killed by a stray bullet or had been purposefully shot. That was because the bullet had not been fired from the sniper's position. He had been able to defend against the outpost sniper, but he had not been able to defend against bullets fired from other positions. "It wasn't you?" Yen Biao was puzzled. He tilted his head to look at Fang Zhao and was about to ask. Bang! Another gunshot rang out in his ears. "Captain, the other terrorist has been shot down." Sniper Bi Liao's voice came through the earpiece. "Was it you this time?" Yen Biao asked. "It wasn't me this time either." Bi Liao's tone was helpless. He was the outpost team's most outstanding sniper and usually called himself an ace sniper, but this time, he had really suffered a setback. Not only had he been unable to lock onto those two crafty terrorists, but he had also been unable to take them down after standing guard for so long. In the end, it had been someone else who had shot them down. But at least these two have been taken care of. Bi Liao sighed. "The remaining monsters are not a threat. Captain, you had better hurry and get treatment. Otherwise, you will bleed to death. Tell your men over there not to go near them. They might have sensor bombs on them." "I know." After the call ended, Yen Biao looked at Fang Zhao, who had already put away his gun. "Were you the one who shot those two?" "Yeah." Chapter 212. Yen Biao could not see the situation in front of him, but since Bi Liao had seen it through the scope and confirmed that the two terrorists had been killed, Yen Biao could rest assured and receive treatment. However, whether what Fang Zhao said was true or not, one would know once they saw the fatal wounds on the bodies of the two terrorists. The gun Fang Zhao had used was different from the one used by the outpost team. The wounds he had inflicted were also different, so it was easy to distinguish. "You're not going to continue? There are still a few more monsters over there." Yen Biao was puzzled when he saw Fang Zhao put away his gun. "The others can handle it. Also, my gun is out of bullets," Fang Zhao said. The situation was already under control, and the remaining threats were not that great. He would leave it to the outpost team to fight for military merits. There was no need for him to fight with others. Yen Biao did not pursue the matter of how the gun had been successfully brought onto planet Baiji. Instead, he asked, "This type of old-fashioned gun has fewer bullets. How many bullets are there in total? You ran out of bullets so quickly." "When I brought them here, there were still 20 left." Fang Zhao didn't hide this. Yen Biao and the others looked down on guns from decades ago. If a gun from the old era had been placed here, they might have treated it as an antique, a sentimental object. "You dare to come to the battlefield with only 20 bullets? Is it enough?" Bi Liao, who had just arrived, was shocked when he heard this. For someone like Yen Biao who was used to using high-capacity magazines, it was completely unimaginable. "What can we do with so few bullets?" But when he thought about the terrorists Fang Zhao had killed and the monsters that were said to have been killed with a single shot, he swallowed the words he was about to say. "That's why I brought a steel pipe." Fang Zhao waved the deformed steel pipe stained with brown blood beside him. Not every monster was shot to death. Some were beaten to death. Yen Biao stared at Fang Zhao in silence for a few seconds, then handed the gun in his hand to Fang Zhao. "Hold it first. I don't have the strength to use it anymore." Fang Zhao didn't take it. Instead, he looked at a certain spot in the sky. "It should be the people from the base." Yen Biao was delighted, but when he looked over, he didn't see anything at all. However, when he thought of Fang Zhao's dying ear evaluation, he was 70 to 80% convinced. He shoved the gun into Fang Zhao's hands. "Even if someone from the base comes, you can hold on to this just in case." As expected, a black dot soon appeared in the distance. Yen Biao switched the mode of his communicator, and a new signal was requested to connect to the sentry's communication network. They were sent by the base. After reporting the situation here, Yen Biao looked at the communicator again. There were 2 missed calls. Kevin Lin's. Yen Biao had set up a few lines on the communicator. Line 1 was for those at the rank of squadron leader and above, including the command room. Line 2 was for those at the rank of squad leader and above. Line 3 was for those at the rank of commander and above to communicate with the command room and understand the real-time monitoring situation. Line 4 was for Kevin Lin and the others who were not members of the outpost team. Previously, it had been connected to the outpost's internal communication line, which was in battlefield command mode. Furthermore, it had been in constant communication, and calls from other secondary lines had not been able to get through. After Yen Biao dialed over, he heard Kevin Lin's anxious voice asking, "Fang Zhao has gone up. Did you see him?" "Now you can see it, right next to me. He's fine, and the people from the base are here, but they still need time to investigate the danger. You guys stay there and don't come out. When it's confirmed that it's safe, someone will come to pick you up." Yen Biao's words were undoubtedly great news to the people in the basement. This proved that the crisis was over. Yen Biao did not say much. 2 soldiers came over and prepared to carry him for medical treatment. He did not need to continue holding on. The moment he relaxed, he felt dizzy and his consciousness was a little fuzzy. Of the 2 terrorists who were killed, one of them had a bomb on him, and it was embedded in his body, making it difficult to remove. After the people sent by the base confirmed the identities of the 2 terrorists, they transported the body with the bomb to a further place to detonate it. The distant explosion shook the ground, proving Yen Biao's judgment. If the terrorist had been allowed to enter the interior of the outpost, the consequences would have been even more dire. With reinforcements, Bi Liao sat down beside Fang Zhao with his gun. He was really tired, but he could not hold back his curiosity. He asked Fang Zhao, "Did you really kill those 2 terrorists?" Bi Liao had seen the wounds on the 2 terrorists. They had been killed with a single shot and had not been caused by the base's guns. Instead, they were very similar to the wounds on the bodies of the monsters Fang Zhao had shot. Because of this, Bi Liao found it inconceivable. If it had been a veteran in his 70s or 80s, Bi Liao would have only been impressed, but Fang Zhao? How old was he? Those 2 terrorists were experienced and had keen intuition. Bi Liao had been on guard for so long but had not succeeded. That was because every time he caught a glimpse of their silhouettes, they would evade as if they had sensed it. There was simply no way to lock onto them. Bi Liao dared to confirm that even a few of the base's ace snipers might not be able to do this. Timing, speed, decisiveness, mentality, external factors, and so on would all affect the final outcome. It was not that Bi Liao was finding excuses for himself, but the difficulty was really too great. But today, what happened before his eyes taught Bi Liao a lesson. Even if Bi Liao was unwilling to admit it, he had to accept reality. Fang Zhao had used less than a minute, a handheld gun that had been discontinued, and 2 bullets to kill a target that Bi Liao had been unable to take down for 20 minutes. This skill was definitely special among special skills. Listening to what Ryode and the others had said, given Fang Zhao's skills, marksmanship, and mental fortitude, he would be an absolute ace in the military no matter where he went. "If I had your ability, forget about everything, just half of it would have made it to the rank of colonel long ago. Why would I still be a 2nd lieutenant now?" Bi Liao lamented to Fang Zhao. "This young fella, why did he take things too hard and become a star? How long have you been practicing shooting?" Bi Liao was especially curious about this. Fang Zhao thought for a bit and replied, "A long time. Definitely not as long as me." From Bi Liao's point of view, he was older than Fang Zhao by more than 10 years and had come into contact with firearms from a young age. He had definitely touched a gun longer than Fang Zhao, but his skill was inferior, so Bi Liao accepted it. "You have great talent." Bi Liao's eyes were filled with envy. Talent was not something that just anyone could have. It could not be obtained even if one begged for it. Some people could achieve more dazzling accomplishments in a shorter time than others. Fang Zhao only smiled faintly when he heard this. Talent? His skills were the result of nearly 100 years of hellish life and the continuous accumulation of injuries. No matter how good a skill was, it did not fall from the sky. How many times had his body and mind been tempered to reach the level he was at today? In his previous life, the reason Fang Zhao had not been able to pull through was largely because of his accumulated injuries and the pressure of high-intensity combat. As the leader of a large war zone, there were many things that he could not avoid. When he died, his body had indeed reached its limit. Even if he had not been in that battle before his death, he might not have been able to endure until the founding era. His rebirth had given Fang Zhao some new surprises, but ultimately, it was still the soul that had been forged from close to 100 years of living in the end of days. In that era where every bullet had to be used and danger lurked on every side, where he had to be vigilant every day and night and where he could lose his life at any time, he had lived for close to 100 years. That was not something Bi Liao could have imagined. When Fang Zhao had faced those monsters, his body, which had fused with his soul, had had an instinctive reaction. But Fang Zhao could not say any of this. Seeing Fang Zhao remain silent, Bi Liao did not mind and continued, "The magazine capacity of that gun of yours is too small. However, speaking of which, guns from the old era have large bullets and very small magazines. I heard that some guns only have a magazine capacity of 10 rounds? I have no idea how those people from the period of destruction survived. If it were me, I would be in despair." Fang Zhao nodded. "Yeah, I wish I could break one into several pieces. Oh, right. I forgot that you are a god-level gamer in Battle of the Century. I heard that Battle of the Century uses settings from the period of destruction and restores things from that era. If I have the chance, I will try it out." What god-level gamer? That was what entertainment reports had used to introduce Fang Zhao. When Bi Liao had first seen it, he had felt that it was an exaggeration. Now that he thought about it, even if it was exaggerated, it was not too ridiculous. Bi Liao decided that the next time he had a chance, he would go online and search for Fang Zhao's exciting gaming videos. "I heard that some troops have already been equipped with new gun models, like the beam gun, which does not require bullets and has greater firepower. There is also a stun mode and a heat mode. It sounds really cool. I wonder when we will be able to use it here." Bi Liao had a yearning look on his face. "In the future, our equipment will get better and better," Fang Zhao said. "That's for sure. If our planet Baiji was still planet Baiji, I could only dream, but now it is different. I can still look forward to it. If we were equipped with that kind of equipment, we would be able to beat those attackers into dregs." At this point, Bi Liao thanked Fang Zhao once again. "If you had not discovered the ore and all the outposts upgraded their systems and equipment, less than half of us would have survived this attack. There is no other way. Resources are limited, and there is a priority for development. Look, our planet Baiji is poor, our equipment is poor, and our ranking is behind. Isn't this why we are being targeted by terrorists?" Bi Liao lamented for a while before asking Fang Zhao, "Oh right, are you interested in developing in the military?" "Nope," Fang Zhao replied. "I am an artist." He just wanted to properly enjoy this hard-won new lease of life. The various outposts that had been attacked on planet Baiji had already been stabilized, and the base had dispatched reinforcements to the various outposts. The communications network had not been completely restored. Although it was still unable to support live broadcasts, the exchange of information had become much smoother. However, people online did not know this. The matter of planet Baiji being attacked by a terrorist organization had become the focal point of everyone's attention. The military would not publicize any information, so if one wanted to know the latest developments on planet Baiji, they either had to look for relevant personnel or wait anxiously. The vast majority of netizens were like this. They were so anxious that they could only vent their frustrations on various discussion forums until Channel S5 posted a video. It was a video that Kevin Lin had sent to the news agency's program team from planet Baiji. In the video, Kevin Lin was in a rather dimly lit room. His face was covered in blood, and he cut a sorry figure. This was the first time he had appeared in this manner since the start of the live broadcast. But at this moment, no one would mock him. "Hello everyone, I am your old friend Kevin Lin. My work ID number is LKW7986. Kevin Lin's voice trembled and was somewhat heavy, as if he were leaving behind his last words. Very quickly, the local online television stations on every continent started a live broadcast. Chapter 213. Did you know? Baiji is at war. Is it the planet where new energy ores were discovered? The one that was very popular some time ago? Yes. I heard it was a terrorist attack. So be it. It's not like it's a rare occurrence. For many people, it was too far away to affect their lives. This was not the first time something like this had happened, so they did not pay too much attention to it. People who paid little attention to political and military news continued to eat and drink as usual when they heard such news from their friends. At most, they would find a topic to brag about at friends' gatherings. Then they would follow the trend and donate some pocket money on Memorial Day. That was it. However, it was different this time. Do you know Fang Zhao? The one who used to be number 1 on the Battle of the Century leaderboards. He was serving on planet Baiji and happened to be at the outpost that was attacked. I heard that during the live broadcast, the signal was cut off. Maybe he was attacked. Now, we don't know if he's dead or alive. What? In the eyes of many professional and non-professional gamers, Fang Zhao's departure from the game was a pity. On forums, gamers often talked about how the leaderboards changed every day. The competition was fierce. On the leaderboards, the original top 2 had temporarily left. Fang Zhao was serving his military service, and Ma Xier had shifted his focus to professional shooting competitions. Without the two strongest competitors, others naturally wanted to fight for a higher ranking. Every time this happened, people would mention Fang Zhao. Thinking back to the first half of the year when the game had started, Fang Zhao had dominated the #1 spot and had never been surpassed. When Fang Zhao had announced that he was leaving the game to serve his military service, some people had been happy, while others had been disappointed. Now, after learning that the outpost Fang Zhao was serving in had been attacked, some people hoped that Fang Zhao would be blown up. That way, he would not be a threat in the future. Of course, there were also people who sincerely hoped that Fang Zhao would survive. There were also people who just wanted to watch a good show. Regardless of what they thought, they were not in the mood to continue playing. Fiery Bird realized that the number of people online today was exceptionally low. To be precise, at this time, the number of people online was decreasing. Especially after Channel S5 started airing videos of the situation on Planet Baiji, gamers who had been online started to go offline one after another to watch videos. Project Starlight's editorial department at First Frontline was busy. Their communication lines were busy, so they could only receive video files, text, and audio files that Kevin Lin was sending over. After watching the first video that Kevin Lin sent, they knew that another opportunity had come for the news agency. Yes, for a business group, profit was the most important thing. As for the current situation on Planet Baiji and whether the people there were safe and sound, although they were concerned, what they valued more was the benefits this incident would bring them. The second video has been edited, and the third video has been received by 98%, boss. Another web TV station from Muzhou wants to buy broadcasting rights from us. The third video has been accepted. Beginning editing, some of the videos sent by Kevin Lin were considered redundant by the editorial department, so they cut some of them and edited them slightly before releasing them on Channel S5. Kevin Lin is going to be popular. A newspaper reporter sighed as he looked at the number of online users that was still increasing. It's already on fire. Another reporter pointed at the page on the screen with a look of disbelief. The page displayed the homepage of Kevin Lin's social media account. The last status had been posted when Kevin Lin had left for Planet Baiji. We're about to set off. The accompanying picture was a photograph of Kevin Lin, Fang Zhao, and other people from the same batch heading for Baiji were also in the picture. The comments section for the last status had already exceeded 1 million. These were all from netizens who had followed the Channel S5 video. In the past, Kevin Lin had also interviewed a few celebrities and political figures, but no matter how he tried to gain popularity or promote, he had not been able to gain popularity. Now, because of this incident, he had profited from a disaster. The number of people following him had already reached a level that many in the industry were envious of. Even if it was only temporary, it was still enviable. Even if the military had the latest news, they had not made it public. They had only said that the situation on Planet Baiji was under control and that the base was safe. That was all. Therefore, if the average citizen wanted to know more about Planet Baiji, they could only watch Channel S5 or the local web TV stations that were simulcasting Channel S5. The first video on Channel S5 told people what had happened. The video also showed Fang Zhao, Fan Lin, and the other researchers. The second video was when the monster had appeared. For people who played Battle of the Century, this sort of monster was no stranger. Even if it was not a species they were familiar with, its sinister appearance and style gave people a sense of familiarity. The banging sound of the door not only made the people in the basement nervous, but even the viewers watching the video were on tenterhooks. This was not a movie. This was a real-life video of what had happened on Planet Baiji. No one knew what they would see in the next moment, and their nerves trembled along with the video. Luckily, the door was sturdy enough. The monster also seemed to have been attracted by something else and left. Only then did the online viewers breathe a sigh of relief. The third video had been edited. It had not been edited by the news agency. Before Kevin Lin had sent it, he had edited out the part where Fang Zhao had pulled out his gun. After all, there were rules against carrying firearms casually. Posting it would not reflect well. Kevin Lin also knew that if not for the special circumstances, Fang Zhao would not have taken it out. As fellow comrades, Kevin Lin was not someone who did not know what was good for him. Even if Fang Zhao had not said so, he would not have released that part. Therefore, at the beginning of the third video, Kevin Lin's face was stained with blood and dust. He leaned against the corner of the wall and sighed. Then, he rubbed his face hard before moving closer to the camera. His eyes were red and filled with deep worry and anxiety. Fang Zhao, he. Perhaps it was because he was dehydrated or had spoken too much, but Kevin Lin's voice was a little hoarse. He stopped after just opening the video. When the online viewers heard this, their hearts that had just been on tenterhooks became even more anxious. Right, where was Fang Zhao? In the video, viewers could see the researchers behind Kevin Lin, but there was no Fang Zhao. They had originally thought that the camera had not captured him, but now that they heard Kevin Lin say this, did something happen? Many online viewers stopped what they were doing and waited for Kevin Lin's next words. In the video, Kevin Lin cleared his throat before continuing. Fang Zhao went out. He said he wanted to go out and take a look. When the online viewers heard this, they were stunned and complained that Kevin Lin was being unkind. What are you panting for when you haven't finished your sentence? When you paused for a moment, I thought that Fang Zhao had heroically died a martyr's death. Eh? Seems like something is wrong. Go out? Fang Zhao had left the underground shelter? What for? Fight monsters? Does he think this is a game? Great-grandfather Fang, who had also seen this video, was so shocked that he could not sit still. Nonsense. He is just a child who has never participated in actual combat. What can he do outside? Send his head on a silver platter? Great-grandfather Fang and great-grandmother Fang were both angry and anxious. They could not get any concrete information on Fang Zhao from their old comrades. They only knew a little about the situation at the base. However, they were only concerned about the situation at Outpost 23. If they wanted to know more about Fang Zhao, they could only watch Channel S5's video and wait. They actually wanted to directly ask First Frontline about the content of all the videos they had received, but they could not get through. First Frontline was not based in Yenzhou, after all. Even if great-grandfather Fang had connections in Yenzhou, they could not influence Huangzhou. They really could not find anyone to ask. The company's public customer service contact number showed that they had to wait in line. Great-grandfather Fang had wanted to make an appointment, but when he saw that the line was already in the tens of thousands, who knew how long he would have to wait? Luckily, they did not have to wait too long. In the next video, Fang Zhao appeared. Not only did he safely return to the basement, he even brought back a wounded person. Many people heaved a sigh of relief, but before they could relax, Fang Zhao left again. Great-grandfather Fang almost could not catch his breath. What is he doing outside again? In the video, during the time that Fang Zhao had disappeared, Kevin Lin and the others in the basement who had only suffered light injuries treated the wounds of the rescued wounded person. The injuries were too serious, so there was a limit to what they could do. However, this outpost soldier named Walker did not remain silent. He also did not know whether he could survive this time, so he got Kevin Lin to record a video for him. At the same time, he also told the story of how Fang Zhao had saved him. A gamer who was watching the video had a glint in his eyes. So that means Xiao God killed 2 monsters? Fang Zhao is so awesome in the game. He shouldn't be too bad in real life, right? Have you forgotten the things that were reported in the past? After all, the virtual world and the real world are different. Some people had different opinions. Some people were unyielding online, but in real life, they were a complete mess. Before this, there were often some entertainment news reports that didn't make the gamers happy. For example, an entertainment magazine once reported that a certain fighting game god had been beaten up by a Blackstreet hooligan and had been hospitalized. Another example was that a certain shooting game player had failed to show off in real life and had been killed instead. Regardless of what everyone said, they really wanted to know Fang Zhao's situation. Had Fang Zhao encountered any monsters or terrorists after going out again? Was he injured? Was he still alive? When Kevin Lin finally got on the phone with Yen Biao and found out that Fang Zhao was fine and that reinforcements from the base had arrived, online audiences could not help but cheer. At this moment, the video that Channel S5 was broadcasting suddenly stopped. Just as some people started to complain, they saw the words on the screen, "Live broadcast signal connecting." The previous videos had been delayed, so what they had seen was not what was actually happening. Now that there was a live broadcast, why would they watch a delayed video? The audience stopped complaining and hurriedly stared at the screen. After the words "connection successful" flashed on the screen, Kevin Lin's blood-stained face appeared on the screen. Unlike the solemn and uneasy expression at the start, Kevin Lin was very excited and ecstatic. Finally, someone is here to pick us up. The camera turned to face the basement door. A group of soldiers came in from outside and carried away a few heavily injured people. Kevin Lin followed them out. Along the way, Kevin Lin captured post-battle footage of the base, as well as the corpses of those monsters. Some of the footage was too gory, so Kevin Lin specially reminded, "Our channel is 15+. Children under 15 are not allowed to watch. Parents, please pay attention to whether there are any minors under 15 peeking around." "I'm going to look for Fang Zhao now. I don't know if he's injured," Kevin Lin said as he followed the group of soldiers out. Walking out of the outpost, he finally saw light. When he saw the base's flying transport and those soldiers, Kevin Lin took a deep breath and looked around. When he saw a familiar face, he quickly walked over and asked, "May I ask if you have seen Fang Zhao? Where is he?" "Fang Zhao? Over there. I think he was brought to get changed," that person replied. "Change? What for?" Kevin Lin was about to ask for more details when he saw Fang Zhao disembarking from the transport aircraft up ahead. Unlike before, Fang Zhao had changed into a combat uniform similar to the outpost team's. He also held a gun in his hand. Kevin Lin had seen Yen Biao use that gun before. "Fang Zhao, what are you going to do like this?" Kevin Lin asked. "Going to the woods to clean up. Some monsters ran into the woods." Fang Zhao was talking to Kevin Lin when he heard Bi Liao urging him, "Hey, Fang Zhao, let's go." Hearing that, Fang Zhao didn't say anything else. He gestured to Kevin Lin to leave first and ran over to Bi Liao and the others. Having just experienced an intense battle, the outpost soldiers still had a faint murderous aura. When they looked at people, they seemed to have a cold glint. Even though there were only a dozen of them, they gave off a sense of power that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Kevin Lin couldn't help but stop walking in that direction. This was the real outpost garrison. Walking together with Bi Liao and the others, Fang Zhao didn't seem out of place in that group of people. On the contrary, he seemed very harmonious. It was as if this person had always been a part of the group. The camera was pointed in that direction. Online viewers could see Fang Zhao in his combat uniform boarding a transport with those outpost soldiers and flying deep into the woods. Only when they were out of sight did the camera move elsewhere. Not long after this scene appeared in the live broadcast, the world-renowned online gaming community Rising Dragon posted the latest news about Fang Zhao, who hadn't been seen in a long time. The title was Virtual versus Reality. The accompanying image was a spliced image of two images. On the left was alive after 500 years' image in the game Battle of the Century. On the right was a screenshot of Fang Zhao standing with the outpost team on channel S5. In both images, Fang Zhao was wearing a combat uniform and holding a gun. In different eras, the combat uniform and gun were different, but the person was the same. One was from the period of destruction over 500 years ago, and the other was from the new era over 500 years later. One existed in a virtual world, and the other existed in real life. The contrast, which seemed to be across time and space, made people feel a sense of novelty. At the same time, it gave rise to a strange feeling of worship in the hearts of many gamers. Not long after this novel comparison image was posted, it was cited by many media outlets in the gaming circles. Chapter 214. Because of this incident, there was another round of heated discussions in the gaming circles. Fang Zhao's virtual versus reality comparison picture had been collected by many people. I suddenly feel like my back is straight. In the future, if anyone tells me that we gamers can only run wild in the virtual world, I will take out this picture and slap it on their face. A gamer exclaimed excitedly. Of course, there were also different voices. Don't brag too much. Who knows what the truth is? Maybe it's just for show. Maybe it's just the outpost team helping him put on a show. Fellow Fang Zhao fans, your filter is too thick. If you brag too much, be careful of reality slapping you in the face. Once these words were uttered, another debate broke out. Bullshit. The terrorist attack was real, right? The military has reported it. Many authoritative television stations have also said it. It can't be a lie. Fang Zhao is already doing very well. Do you think anyone could stand out under those circumstances? After all, Fang Zhao is just a gamer. Going out in that kind of situation, it's a miracle that he survived. That's why I say surviving is not bad. If he was unlucky, he might have been shot and died the moment he went out. Enough is enough. If the situation is under control, just stay at the side obediently. Why go into the woods? Don't end up digging your own grave. Some people are too weak to support their ambitions and can only hope for their peers to die. What a sour tone. I don't think it's a show. After all, Fang Zhao went out to save a sentry. The sentry also said that if Fang Zhao hadn't rushed in, he would have been dead. Looking at it this way, Fang Zhao should have some merits in this attack. Regardless of the rank, he definitely has a military medal. Probably an outstanding medal or a commemorative medal. I have a commemorative medal too. Isn't that something every conscript gets? There are grades for military service medals too. Even if you guys sell the most ordinary of commemorative medals, no one would buy them. This kind of thing could also be done behind the scenes, someone said. It's not that there aren't any, but those that can be faked are done in the dark. Fang Zhao is a celebrity with such a strong presence. So many people have their eyes on him. There's simply no way he could fake it. That's right. Many things are not decided by Planet Baiji. Planet Baiji is only in charge of rating and reporting. Whether it is approved or not is still vetted by the higher-ups. With so much attention on Fang Zhao, the higher-ups will surely have a strict approval process. Discussions on the forums ranged from how many shots Fang Zhao had fired, how he had survived, whether he had rendered any meritorious services, all the way to what kind of military medals he might receive. Now, many gamers idolized Fang Zhao. In the past, it was just a technical idol. Now, it was a life idol. At the same time, Fang Zhao had no idea what people were saying about him online. He was currently on a flying transport with Bi Liao and the others, clearing the forest. Some monsters had escaped into the forest, so they had to be cleaned up. They could not leave any hidden dangers behind. Ryode endured it but still said to Fang Zhao, "Brother, let's make a deal. In a while, when we discover that monster, can you not attack?" When he had entered the forest and spotted the monster, Fang Zhao had opened fire before anyone could lock onto the target. He had fired 3 times in rapid succession, decisive and without the slightest bit of hesitation. This had been Fang Zhao's subconscious reaction. All 3 shots had hit the monster's head. Although it was not a godly skill like 3 shots to a bullet hole, it was still enough to astonish Bi Liao and the others. The monster was running, and the flying transport was flying. To hit the target's head with all 3 shots was not an easy task. If it had been a veteran from the outpost or base, everyone would have praised them, but they would not have been so astonished. But the one firing was Fang Zhao, just a conscript. He had only gotten this gun from Yan Biao. No matter what, he should have needed some time to get used to it, yet he had actually achieved such a standard with his first shot. His gun sense was so strong? However, when he thought about how Fang Zhao had shot down those 2 terrorists, Bi Liao was no longer that astonished. Ryode, who was sitting beside him, recalled the scene of Fang Zhao dealing with those few monsters and could not help but speak up. Actually, Ryode did not want to bring Fang Zhao on this operation. Fang Zhao would snatch military merits from them, but Fang Zhao's ears were good, so he brought them along just in case. If the equipment did not work, he could rely on Fang Zhao. But now, Ryode and the others were a little regretful. If the cleanup process continued like this, would they still be able to make a move? They had still intended to report it to the higher-ups after the cleanup was completed. If all the work was snatched away by Fang Zhao, how would they earn anything? Fang Zhao also understood what Ryode and the others were thinking. After Ryode finished speaking, Fang Zhao nodded his head and said, "All right." He had no intention of snatching from them. Just now had been a subconscious reaction. After that, when those monsters were discovered in the forest, Fang Zhao just watched from the side. With Fang Zhao's record of killing a target in 3 shots, Ryode only managed to kill one after more than 10 shots, so he was too embarrassed to find an excuse. Luckily, this was Fang Zhao's first time handling this sort of gun. If he was given time to train, would 1 shot be enough? Fang Zhao, how can you be so accurate? Is this really your first time handling this sort of gun model? Bi Liao asked curiously. It can't be considered my first time. I used it when I played King of Guns before. King of Guns? Everyone in the flying transport looked at Fang Zhao doubtfully. A very popular shooting game from last year, Fang Zhao explained. The flying transport suddenly fell into a strange silence. After searching the forest in the outpost area for a day and then joining forces with the other nearby outposts to search for 2 more days, they returned to the outpost after not finding a single monster that had escaped the net. Even if there were any that they had not discovered, they would pay attention during their routine patrols in the future. A portion of the outpost had been destroyed. More than half of the warehouses and other places where supplies were stored had been destroyed, but for the current outpost, or perhaps for the entire garrison of Planet Baiji, these were not that important anymore. Planet Baiji was on the rise, and in the future, there would be no shortage of supplies. If they were short, they would just have to make up for it. After returning to the outpost, Fang Zhao, Kevin Lin, Fan Lin, and the others were brought back to base. The seriously injured personnel were also brought back to base for treatment. After Fang Zhao arrived at base, he went to visit Yen Biao. Yen Biao had just undergone a lower leg amputation, and the lower half of his legs had already been amputated. Fang Zhao had asked around and found out that Yen Biao had been injured while trying to save two impetuous sentries. Given the current level of medical expertise in the new era, Yen Biao's legs had still not been able to be saved. It could be seen that Yen Biao's injuries had been very serious and complicated, but Yen Biao had been stubbornly holding on. By the time he had been sent back to base from the outpost, he had already been in a coma. In this terrorist attack, a total of 29 people had been sacrificed at the 5 outposts. Among them, Outpost 23 had lost 3 people. Compared to the other 4 outposts, Outpost 23 had lost the least people, but they were still comrades from the same outpost, so the sentries at Outpost 23 still had heavy hearts. Those who were on good terms with them had long since hidden away and cried. Under the premeditated bombing and suicide attack, if the defensive systems and equipment had not been upgraded beforehand, the number of casualties would have been even higher. This was not the first time something like this had happened. Sacrifices were unavoidable. Baiji Base held a farewell ceremony for the 29 sentries who had sacrificed themselves in this terrorist attack. Yen Biao, who had just undergone surgery and looked extremely pale, also attended. After returning to his ward, Yen Biao's mood was very complicated. There was heaviness and regret. He was lamenting those comrades who had sacrificed themselves and lamenting his own injuries. He knew that he could not continue staying here and would have to retire early. Not long after Yen Biao returned to his ward, Bi Liao, Ryode, and the others came over to see him. Looking at Yen Biao, who was lying there, Bi Liao and the others did not know what to say. Yen Biao was the first to speak. "I heard you guys went on a live broadcast." At the mention of this, the gloomy atmosphere around Bi Liao and the others dissipated a little. "Don't mention it. The military instructor even looked for us for a chat." Bi Liao had an extremely remorseful look, but if one looked closely, one would notice that there was a hint of a smile in his eyes. It was not just Bi Liao. Ryode and the others also had the same reaction. "I heard that you guys did not even put on your helmets and showed your faces? And in high-definition full-body shots. Have you guys forgotten your ranks and the rules?" Yen Biao raised his eyebrows and asked. "It's not like we were the ones who exposed ourselves. That reporter was too excited and forgot to hide. He also did not censor it," Bi Liao explained. That's right. You can't blame us. We are also victims," Ryode hurriedly said. "Bullshit." Yen Biao did not believe what they were saying. "If you guys wanted to hide, would you not have been able to? Especially you, Bi Liao. At that time, you even took the initiative to shout for Fang Zhao. Your voice was rather loud. At that time, didn't you notice that Kevin Lin was carrying a camera? Wouldn't you have avoided it if you had noticed?" After all, they were all soldiers under his command. Everyone had known each other for so many years. How could Yen Biao not know what they were thinking? He knew what kind of shit they were going to shit when their tails were up. Yen Biao unhurriedly said, "You guys are thinking of migrating." Planet Baiji was going to establish a large military district. Although there had been no concrete news, based on the political sense they had honed over the years, they could still guess. According to the steps of the first few planets in the development sequence, when a large military district was established, there would surely be a compound for family members. When schools, hospitals, and other basic facilities were completed, once their families moved over, they would no longer want to return to their home planet. This was the place where they could realize their ambitions and aspirations. Actually, these garrison soldiers were the first batch of immigrants. However, the first batch of family members to move in would surely start from the higher ranks. At the very least, they would be at Yen Biao's rank. Bi Liao and the others' ranks were not high enough. These people had been in the military for quite some time. In the past, they had clashed with terrorists many times, so it was easy for them to be targeted. However, this time, because of an accident and negligence, the base would definitely prioritize taking care of them to prevent their families from being implicated. If Yen Biao could see through this, how could Shanta and the other higher-ups of the base not know? Actually, everyone knew in their hearts that this so-called conversation was just a formality, a show for others to see. Bi Liao and the others did not quibble and just smiled. They knew they could not hide it and did not intend to. When they thought about how they could move their families over after a large military district was established, they felt a wave of excitement, and their eyes sparkled. Seeing their expectant and yearning expressions, Yen Biao felt envious and helpless, but he did not regret it. He could only sigh regretfully. He would not live to see the day Planet Baiji's large military district was established. After this treatment, he would have to retire early. His comrades had bright futures, but Yen Biao still had to ponder what to do in the future. If he were to retire in this situation, he would surely be taken care of and assigned jobs. He might not like those jobs, but at least he would not be in dire straits, and there would be a high retirement pension. After Bi Liao and the others got excited, they came back to their senses and felt a little awkward. They wiped away the smiles on their faces and said seriously to Yen Biao, "Captain, you will always be our captain. In the future, when Planet Baiji opens up a little, you can come over and visit us." Although he said that, Yen Biao knew that Planet Baiji was not an open planet and did not have any tourist attractions. After leaving, it would not be easy to come back, and the fees to and from there would not be low. After leaving, he might not be able to come back again in his lifetime. After Bi Liao and the others left, Yen Biao stared at the ceiling. He had just undergone surgery and his body was still weak. Actually, he was already very tired and could fall asleep if he closed his eyes, but Yen Biao kept his eyes open as if he was looking for a beating. His mind was filled with many thoughts, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. Actually, he still felt a little regretful. To save others, he had cut off his own glorious future. It sounded like a loss, but if he could do it all over again, he would still do it. Yen Biao looked at the ceiling and sighed softly. This is fate. After sighing, Yen Biao was about to rest when someone came over to see him. Fang Zhao. Yen Biao was astonished. I came over to take a look. Fang Zhao sat down on a stool beside the bed. What are your plans for the future? I will definitely be discharged from the military. In my current state, there is no way I can continue staying in the military. In a few days, the base will send a special casualties back to Earth and arrange for follow-up treatment at the hospital there. Prosthetics will be installed, and jobs will be arranged. Yen Biao had an open-minded look on his face. So, there is no need to pity me, really. He did not need other people's sympathy or pity. It was not like he could not continue living. Compared to those comrades who had already sacrificed themselves, he could be considered lucky. I still lack a bodyguard, Fang Zhao said. In the past, Duan Qianji, Zhu Wen, and the others had said that one bodyguard was too few. Zuoyu was a driver, a bodyguard, and also an errand boy. When he returned after completing his military service, there would be even more things to do. When the time came, Zuoyu would not be able to handle everything alone. Chapter 215. Yen Biao was no fool. When Fang Zhao had said that, after a brief daze, he had analyzed the pros and cons in his mind and come to a conclusion, this was an excellent job. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about what he would do after he retired. At first, he thought that if he didn't reach 50 years old when he retired, he would first join an adventurer organization or something that had a more exciting life. He might even find some treasures and become a rich man in one go. However, with his current injuries, it was clearly not suitable for him to join such an organization. He had also considered becoming a bodyguard. The salary of a celebrity's bodyguard was high, which Yen Biao had learned from some of his retired comrades. However, being a celebrity's bodyguard was not easy, especially those with bad tempers, troublesome, and different personalities. They could die of suffocation. He was not yet 40, which was considered the beginning of the golden age in the new era. He was not someone who could sit around idly. The government would naturally arrange a more relaxed job. The pay would not be high, but it would not be too low either. Basic living conditions would be guaranteed, and the benefits would be good. But in the end, he was still unwilling to enter retirement mode so early. Up until now, Yen Biao felt that Fang Zhao was still alright. Following Fang Zhao would not be too miserable. After the attack on the outpost, Yen Biao also knew that Fang Zhao was very capable, but he was a celebrity. After all, there were many things that were inconvenient to do, especially in public. Thus, bodyguards like him had to play a role. Yen Biao's attitude changed very quickly, and he immediately started to recommend himself. For a job like bodyguard, you definitely won't lose out by hiring me. Personal combat qualities and professional cultivation might not be top-notch, but on Planet Baiji, you are among the best. If you miss this opportunity, where else can you find a bodyguard as good as me? Don't judge me by my current condition. Not that I'm bragging, but when I recover, I will get a better prosthetic limb. I can take on 5 people at once without panting. As he finished speaking, Yen Biao glanced at Fang Zhao, who had been sitting quietly beside him. He could not make out anything from Fang Zhao's expression. He could not help but wonder, could it be that I'm bragging too much? When can I start? Fang Zhao asked. Hearing this, Yen Biao knew there was hope. He hurriedly said, generally speaking, after returning, I will receive treatment at the military hospital, get prosthetic limbs installed, and undergo rehabilitation training. A conservative estimate would be half a year. However, it had been a long time since I had returned to Mother Planet. It wouldn't take too much time to make arrangements for my family, but I had to spend some time to understand the current situation of Mother Planet. I needed a period of adaptation. But when you retire, I will definitely be in my best condition. Yen Biao's attitude changed quite quickly when he called him boss. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Fang Zhao nodded. Yen Biao's reply was within his expectations. He had chosen Yen Biao after much consideration. Those who had served as sentinel captains were more rigorous in their thinking. They were slightly more tactful, but they had a bottom line. Take a rest first. I will send you the contract in a bit. All the requirements will be listed inside. Fang Zhao did not intend to say too much at once. He got up and prepared to leave. After all, Yen Biao's current physical condition was rather poor. After the surgery, his energy was limited, and he needed more time to rest. Wait, boss, did the commander and the others look for you? Yen Biao asked. Not at the moment. Fang Zhao could tell that Yen Biao had something to say, so he retracted his steps and waited for Yen Biao to finish. Then they should look for you very soon. Since there was a high chance that Fang Zhao would be his future boss, Yen Biao hurriedly took advantage of the heat to build a favorable impression. The identities of the two terrorists who were killed have been confirmed. They are highly ranked on the bounty list and are considered high-risk criminals. Both of them were killed by you. In addition to the beasts you killed previously, you will be rewarded according to your contributions. Boss, I reckon you will be promoted this time. You might even be able to fight for a third-class merit. Boss, don't think that it's just a third-class merit. Don't think that it's just a third-class merit. This isn't easy. Fang Zhao did not show any particular excitement and continued to wait for Yen Biao to continue. However, Yen Biao glanced at Fang Zhao. I reckon that the origins of that gun of yours will have to be investigated. The main reason they are looking for you is to ask about this. This was to remind Fang Zhao to make preparations in advance. When the time came, whether or not he could successfully apply for military functions would depend on this. If this matter was not resolved well, then there was no need to talk about anything else. I got it. Fang Zhao did not show any signs of worry, nor did he press Yen Biao for information. Instead, he asked, what about you? Will you be promoted too? Me? This time, Yen Biao's laugh came from the bottom of his heart. The haze in his eyes had dissipated quite a bit. When I am discharged from the military under these circumstances, I will usually be promoted by one rank, like retired major, or something like that. Yen Biao had also performed meritorious deeds. Of the 5 outposts that had been attacked, Outpost 23 had been the best defended and had suffered the least casualties. Even though Fang Zhao had been a factor, Yen Biao had also commanded people to defend against the 2 dangerous criminals. The outpost's warehouses that had been bombed were not that important. If they had been bombed, so be it. The command center and the engine room were the most important. These important places had been defended well. Fan Lin and the others had also survived the attack. This had already satisfied the base's top brass. Furthermore, Yen Biao had sustained serious injuries in order to save his comrades. Being discharged and promoted was not an issue. After saying what he wanted to say, Fang Zhao left the ward. But at this time, although Yen Biao was physically exhausted, he was mentally excited. He tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He thought about which comrades were in the bodyguard business and how he could learn from them. Not long after Fang Zhao left, Yen Biao's psychological consultant came over for a chat. For veterans like him, they would have such talks on a regular basis. It was also the case when one was discharged from the military. It was to check if one's mental state was suitable for the position they had been assigned, whether one had any antisocial tendencies, etc. Originally, when the psychological consultant had seen Yen Biao's resume and medical records, he had been thinking about how to counsel him, but after the chat, he realized that it was completely different from what he had expected. There was some regret, but there was no gloominess. Yen Biao's mental state could be said to be the best among this batch of casualties. When the psychological consultant walked out of the ward, he still felt that it was inconceivable. He even had some doubts about his professional ability. He got a colleague to test Yen Biao, but the results were the same. The psychological consultant sighed as he wrote down the results of this chat on the medical records. This mentality is very positive. Yen Biao did not divulge his conversation with Fang Zhao. After all, they had not officially signed a contract, and he had not officially retired from the military, so he did not tell anyone. But his mentality was already very different from before, especially when he had received the contract from Fang Zhao. His grin had almost reached his ears. The contract listed all the things that he needed to take note of. Given Yen Biao's rigor, he could not find any areas that he was dissatisfied with, especially the salary. The probationary period had already exceeded his expectations. Of course, Yen Biao did not think that being a bodyguard was so easy or that the money was so easy, but at least it was better than retiring early. All he wanted now was to recover quickly and be in his best condition when the time came. After all, Fang Zhao's other bodyguard was from the Special Forces. He was a retired major from a foreign planet garrison. How could he be any worse than the other party? Oh, that's right. In a year's time, perhaps this would be the official Baiji military district. As a retired major from the Baiji military district, he could not lose face for the military district. Just as Yen Biao was making plans for his future, Fang Zhao was called to a conference room on the base. As soon as he entered, Fang Zhao saw Shanta and the other 5 members of the base's top brass. The send-off ceremony for the soldiers who had sacrificed themselves had already ended. The arrangements for the base and the various outposts had also been completed. Everything was back on track. It was time for the military merits to be tabulated and reported. However, among those who had performed meritorious deeds, some of the active duty personnel still needed to be interviewed. Fang Zhao was the first. Logically speaking, when Planet Baiji's top brass spoke to the soldiers, the atmosphere should be rather solemn. The top brass would also display the imposing manner of a top brass, but when it came to Fang Zhao, they could not bring themselves to be serious. After all, the fact that Planet Baiji was able to rise to the front of the development sequence was also thanks to Fang Zhao. Thus, when Fang Zhao entered the room, regardless of what they had been thinking, they could not help but break into a smile. It could not be helped. When they saw Fang Zhao, they thought of the Baijior. When they thought of the Baijior, they thought of Planet Baiji that was about to take off. Fang Zhao followed the requirements of the military service manual and gave a standard new era military salute the moment he entered. Fang Zhao, take a seat first. Don't be nervous. We are just having a chat, Shanta said first. Once Shanta's attitude was displayed, the others could no longer hold back, and the smiles on their faces widened. Fang Zhao sat down in the chair pointed out to him. He was not nervous, but he was not perfunctory either. Shanta nodded in his heart. Fang Zhao's attitude made it impossible for him to dislike him, but he still had to go through the necessary procedures. Tell me about that gun of yours? Shanta's gaze swept over to the box on the table. Inside was the gun that Fang Zhao had voluntarily handed over after the ambush had ended. A quick check of the gun model and the serial number on it would reveal who it belonged to. I took the gun from my great-grandfather for self-defense. In the past, I only used it at the shooting range. When I was on Earth, I never used it in public. Fang Zhao had only said that he had taken the gun and had not said that it had been given to him by great-grandfather Fang. There was a video recording of the conversation, and it would be placed together with the declaration materials. Actually, Shanta and the others knew very well that even their own children and grandchildren had often played around with their guns before they had obtained permission to use them. Generally, as long as nothing happened, they would turn a blind eye to it. If they really wanted to fuss over this matter, they could just take a stroll around the military districts of every continent and find out who it was. Once they found out who Fang Zhao's gun had belonged to, they would have a better idea. They would not press Fang Zhao too hard. This matter could be big or small. How it was judged would depend on the attitude of these few higher-ups. If they handled it lightly, it would not be a big deal. Besides, Fang Zhao had also explained that every bullet in the gun had been used. Detailed records could be found at the shooting range, and the other bullets had been found on the bodies of the beasts and terrorists that had attacked the outpost. This proved that Fang Zhao had not lied about this matter. A small mistake was a mistake, and a mistake was a mistake. Hiding it was impossible, but when the base applied for his military merits, they would polish it a little. Chapter 216. Third-class merit. Even if it was reported, it wouldn't be approved, right? Someone beside Shanta said. If it was anyone else, it might be approved, and the vetting wouldn't be too strict. In the past, as long as we made a decision and reported it, it would be approved. But Fang Zhao, there are too many people watching him. It's a little risky. Another person in the conference room chimed in. If it was to guard a base, it would definitely not be a problem, but guarding an outpost is still a little insufficient. Of course, the most important thing is Fang Zhao's length of service. He just started his military service, so he doesn't have an advantage. He might be stuck. Third-class merit should be approved, but for this promotion, the chances of it being approved are not high. Didn't he discover the Baiji ore? That's a big enough merit. That can't be considered as a merit. Shanta, who had been quietly listening to the discussion, knocked on the table and said, I feel that if it is reported, the chances of it being approved are very high. The others quietened down, waiting for Shanta's analysis. Shanta rapped his fingers on the table and said, setting an example. Setting an example. Hearing this, the others understood. Indeed, the attitude of the higher-ups was changing. In the past, they had looked down on the entertainment circles, but this year, hadn't they proposed Project Starlight? It was to let idols and celebrities attract attention. Furthermore, the benefits of Project Starlight were so obvious. This time, it was a chance to set an example. In Shanta's opinion, the chances of it being approved were very high. Indeed, they need to find a role model. The power of a role model cannot be matched by words. In the past, so many publicity films have been shot, how many publicity slogans have been released, and how the effects have been. Otherwise, the higher-ups wouldn't have come up with Project Starlight. Now that you think about it, it really is true. This kid Fang Zhao's luck is really good. This is considered an exception to promote him. But then again, ever since the military service reform, when 2 years were reduced to 1 year, the only one promoted so quickly is Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao did not know about the discussion in the conference room after he left. He actually did not care much about the merit. He had killed those monsters and shot those terrorists not for the sake of military merit. That was an instinct that had been ingrained from living for close to 100 years during the period of destruction. Back in his dormitory, Fang Zhao once again picked up his little notebook and started composing. The matter had come to an end, and he could organize his inspiration with peace of mind. However, Fang Zhao could not compose for too long. In the afternoon, Shanta looked for him for another chat. This time, it was not about business matters but a private conversation. Shanta had looked for Fang Zhao to tell him 2 things. One was about the third-class military merit that had already been submitted and his promotion application. The other was to ask if Fang Zhao had any familiar people in the Yenzhou military district. After this ambush, Planet Baiji would definitely increase its military strength. This time, Shanta could not delay it any longer. The military districts of every continent would surely dispatch some people over. Since the increase in military strength was unavoidable, Shanta would definitely look for allies. Over at Yenzhou, he also did not have any particularly satisfactory partners. As long as the conditions were met, anyone would do. Therefore, Shanta also took this opportunity to owe Fang Zhao a favor. As long as the person Fang Zhao proposed did not displease him, he would immediately agree. Over at Yenzhou's military district, the only one I am familiar with is Major General Hong Lu. We have worked together before. Fang Zhao told him about Hong Lu. During military training, Hong Lu had helped Fang Zhao a little. In the past, he had even bought one of Fang Zhao's movements to be used as background music for a military district promotional video. Fang Zhao's impression of Hong Lu was pretty good. Hong Lu was a decent person, and with his relationship with Duan Qianji, Fang Zhao could only think of him as a general. Hong Lu? Shanta searched for Hong Lu's information in his mind. He did not know much about Hong Lu, but he did not have any enmity with him. When he got back, he would do some research. Oh, right, a few other planets have asked for you. They have asked for you a few times already. They want you to take a look at their mining areas. If you do not have any other plans, take some time off and make a trip there, Shanta said. In the past, a few planets that were on the same level as Planet Baiji had been envious of Planet Baiji's development progress. Even with the impetus of Project Starlight, how could it compare to greater power or in a position on the development sequence? Now, many people from various places were looking for Fang Zhao, but during his military service, if he, as the highest-ranking officer of the base, did not agree, nobody could even dream of sending Fang Zhao over. Borrowing people was fine, but transferring over was absolutely out of the question. Shanta still felt that keeping Fang Zhao here was safer. Actually, that side has already used the newest type of detector to scan and did not discover anything. They are still unwilling to give up and wish to borrow your guiding ears for a bit. When Shanta mentioned this matter, he was still very proud of himself for choosing to be stationed on Planet Baiji and not other planets back then. All right? Fang Zhao nodded. Making a trip over was also good. This was definitely something that could not be avoided. Even if he did not go now, in the future, those people would think of other ways to make him go over. Fang Zhao did not think that his ears were better than the newest type of detector, but letting others give up would save him a lot of trouble. Shanta's actions were very swift. After talking to Fang Zhao, he went to investigate Yenzhou Military District's Hong Lu. After analyzing this person with a few trusted aides, they felt that it was feasible and contacted Yenzhou Military District. When Hong Lu found out that Yenzhou Military District was sending him to planet Baiji, he felt as if a huge rock had been lifted off his shoulders. Although his wife had told him that Fang Zhao would definitely help, who knew if Shanta would listen or not? Now it seemed that Fang Zhao, that little fellow, was still rather reliable. Over at Yenzhou's military district, Hong Lu was not the only one who had the rank, the ability, the background, and the connections. Baiji Base's reply had become the deciding vote. After receiving the notification from the top, Hong Lu excitedly called Duan Qianji. "Wifey, you were right. That little fellow really knows what to do." Duan Qianji was stunned when she heard this, but she quickly reacted to what Hong Lu had said and smiled. "Has the personnel been confirmed?" "It has been confirmed, it has been confirmed. Let me make the necessary preparations and lead troops to planet Baiji." Hong Lu's voice was filled with uncontrollable excitement. After the people from the 12 continents went over, there would be news of planet Baiji establishing a large military district. The situation on Earth had already been set. For ambitious people like them, there was not much room for development on planet Baiji. Only when they were sent out would they be able to see a wider world. "Don't forget to send a few more people to protect Fang Zhao when the time comes," Duan Qianji reminded him. "You don't have to tell me." "Of course. Definitely send elites," Hong Lu guaranteed. The various continents' military districts were getting restless, but this did not have much to do with Fang Zhao. He would only be serving on planet Baiji for a year and would leave after that. However, he was indeed happy for planet Baiji. Shanta had shown him a blueprint for planet Baiji's development. In the future, after it was built, humanity's living space would expand and there would be more choices. Even if something happened, they would not be trapped on a planet in a desperate battle to the death. The hellish life of the period of destruction would not happen again. This made Fang Zhao feel gratified. A week later, Fang Zhao, who was participating in the reconstruction of Outpost 23, was called to the base, Shanta's office. "There are too many things to do. Special times call for special measures. Everything will be simplified. There won't be any commendation ceremony or anything. This is yours." As Shanta spoke, he handed over a box with the Alliance's insignia. Recently, he had been busy dealing with the people from the 12 continents' military districts, so Shanta had specially taken some time out to personally pass this to Fang Zhao to show how much he valued it. Fang Zhao opened the box. Inside lay a third-class merit medal, a second lieutenant's epaulet, and a gun model similar to the ones Yen Biao and the others used. "From now on, you have the legal right to carry a gun. However, the gun you used before can no longer be left on base." Shanta personally helped Fang Zhao put on the epaulet. "Work hard. Who knows, you might get a promotion when you retire." When Shanta spoke, he did not speak with the attitude of a leader. Instead, he spoke with the attitude of a senior. This way, their relationship seemed closer. Originally, Shanta had intended to give Fang Zhao a few earnest words of advice and raise his hand to pat Fang Zhao on the shoulder to show his encouragement, but when he met Fang Zhao's pair of calm eyes, he did not know why he could not continue. His raised hand paused in the air and retracted it. Finally, he choked out a sentence. "Youngster, you have to be more energetic. Don't be too stuffy." "Understood." Fang Zhao saluted and left Shanta's office. Shanta watched the door close once again and thought back to that strange feeling he had felt just now. He kept feeling a little weak. What was it? Could it be that he had been too busy recently and it had affected his physical condition? However, before Shanta could think too much, another call came in. "I heard that there is another inspection team heading over?" the other party asked with a laugh. "Inspection team? If I don't agree, can they still force their way in?" Shanta replied with a cold snort. In the past, it had been them inspecting others. Now, they were being inspected. Shanta was choosing now. With so many things on his plate, Shanta did not delve too deeply into that awkward feeling he had felt just now. Meanwhile, after leaving Shanta's office, Fang Zhao returned to the dormitory allocated to him by the base and opened up another box. Along with the metal box was the gun he had received from great-grandfather Fang. Shanta had returned it to him. Fang Zhao packed up the box containing the metal and the box containing the gun. He wrote down the address, brought along Shanta's certificate, and handed it to the person in charge of delivering mail at the base. Mail coming and going from the base had to go through many layers of checks. Without permission, things like guns could not be sent out. Fang Zhao wrote down the address of Yenzhou's Yanbei retirement home for retired officials. The gun was no longer useful, so he would mail it back to great-grandfather Fang. The medal was also mailed over. The two elders liked it. When Fang Zhao returned to Outpost 23 from the base, Kevin Lin was in the middle of a live broadcast. Fan Lin and the others had reconstructed the experimental plots. After that round of attacks, many of the arrow sunflowers that had already sprouted had died, but there were also some that had luckily survived. Recently, Fan Lin had led people to rescue these experimental sprouts that had not stopped breathing. Since Fang Zhao was not around, Kevin Lin could only personally do the farm work. Given his physique, it did not take long for him to start panting. When he saw Fang Zhao return, it was as if he had seen his savior. "Fang Zhao, you are back, huh?" Kevin Lin's eyes were sharp and saw Fang Zhao's epaulets. When he got closer and saw it clearly, he did not say much. Instead, he adjusted the camera to face Fang Zhao so that more people could see the epaulets clearly. Many online viewers did not understand military rank epaulets, but with so many online viewers, there were bound to be people who recognized them. Then, the discussion forums exploded. "The fuck? Are my eyes playing tricks on me?" The epaulets on Fang Zhao's shoulders, "Hurry up and tell me I did not see wrong. I specially flipped through it. It is indeed a second lieutenant epaulet. There is no mistake. Second lieutenant. Although his rank is very low, he is still considered an officer, right? The problem is how long has he been in service? Has it been a month? He was promoted just like that?" You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.